Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Debate Club, a place where we engage in healthy debates and discussions. Today's topic will be Abrahamic religions are incompatible with democracy and secularism. Agree or disagree? Before I start to put in the context for the debate, I'd like to just make a disclaimer that a topic like this, which is based on religion or like specific religions that we are going to talk about today, it might be a bit sensitive to some people. Let's make sure that we don't get overly personal or we don't make comments or remarks that may be hurtful to certain community sentiments. With that in place, let's start setting the context for the debate. Basically, we are discussing whether Abrahamic religions are compatible with democracy and secularism. So, secularism champions the principle of one law for all citizens, regardless of religious affiliation. So, basically, in a secular democracy, everyone is equal before the law with no religious advantages or disadvantages. There are parties that agree that Abrahamic religions are incompatible with the concepts of secularism and democracy based on the fact that in the past, Abrahamic religions have influenced the way laws and policies have played out. But there are also parties that disagree, saying that in a country or in a system that is secular, there are no religious advantages or disadvantages. And as long as any religion is not given priority over the other, or any religious practice is not imposed on people who do not want to adopt that practice, secularism can be maintained in a democracy. So, with that in place, let's start the session for today. Are Abrahamic religions compatible with secularism or democracy? People who wish to speak can raise your hands. All right, I see Samat. Please go ahead.
Uh, Thank you, Rose. I think Abrahamic religions they are compatible with secularism and democracy, and the proof for that one, you know how the saying is, the proof is in the pudding. So I would point out to my proof whether that they're compatible. The very existence today of countries such as Israel or France or Great Britain. So these countries traditionally have had state religions. So, for example, France and England, I think the state officially adopted Christianity around 500 CE, and throughout its up until the past couple of centuries, up until let's say approximately the age of Enlightenment, there was a, a domination of the state by the religion. So there was officially state religion for both Great Britain and France, and the religious minorities they were discriminated upon, and the religious doctrines of the respective churches in France and Great Britain. So in France it was the Catholic Church, and in Great Britain it was the Church of England. They in their doctrine they clearly laid out that religious minorities they should be discriminated against. So historically that has been the case, that there was persecution of religious minorities by the state hand in hand with the official religions. But there has been a tremendous change in this aspect, and the official state religions, the state religions that were previously official, the Catholic Church in France and the Church of England in Great Britain, they did revise what their official doctrine was, and the state it adopted a neutral stance, or and the state they it adopted a neutral stance. So given that these rapid changes have occurred in the past couple of centuries, and we are in the present day where you cannot honestly say that the persecution of religious minorities they exist in these countries and in various other Western countries. So given this, I would say that they are in fact compatible. But that does not mean that they have like problems, that they have had problems in the past. or even that the problem is ongoing, but the magnitude of the problem has certainly diminished. And the very existence of this problem, the problems with respect to religious toleration, it will exist as long as religions exist. And just because these problems exist does not mean that these religions, they are like fundamentally incapable, like incompatible with secularism. Having a problem is different being like totally incompatible. Yeah, so that would be the main thrust of my argument. So that the Abrahamic religions, they vary quite a bit. You have three religions coming under that rubric, and each of the three religions, they have various sects in them. So all of these three religions, they are quite different in the degree of toleration they do to other religious minorities, and it depends upon the individual sects within these religions. So a problem does exist, and the magnitude of the problem, it varies across religions, and it has varied across time and place. But to say that there is a problem, uh, is not to say that it is like fundamentally incompatible. Yeah, so that will be my argument. Thank you.
Rose, are you
Well, with
speaking?
the sorry.
I don't know if it was just me, like, but I couldn't hear your audio.
Oh, okay. Am I audible now?
Now you're audible.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, thank you. So basically, Samrit is of the opinion that Abrahamic religions are compatible with the concepts of secularism and democracy, and the problems of religious intolerance vary from period to period and religion to religion and even sect to sect. But to say that uh, because of those problems, these religions are incompatible with the concepts of secularism and democracy would be wrong, and the magnitude of religious intolerance, if we see in comparison with the history, I think the magnitude has come down. So, great point, Samar. Thank you so much. Next up will be Akash.
Hello, I am audible.
Yes, Akash.
Uh, So I am of the opinion that like Abrahamic religion is in completely compatible with democracy and secularism. Before I begin, like I would just like to rephrase the argument a bit. I would say Christianity in general is compatible with ideas of democracy and secularism. As Rose initially rightly pointed out, that democratic secularism essentially rests on the idea of equality before law. And that is a thought which was very novel, which was very rare to be found in any theological or cultural foundations. And that directly stems from Genesis chapter 1, where the Christian beliefs rest that the human beings are created in the image of God, that all human beings are created equal, and that was the direct philosophical motivation which led to the Magna Carta of the 13th century, where essentially in the England, which essentially laid the foundations of modern democratic foundations, which meant like all men are created equal and everyone are equal before law. And just like everyone are equal before the God, they are also equal before law, and they have the right to get equally protected by them. And that essentially laid the foundations of the modern democratic values that we cherish. And as far as secularism is considered, now, theologically, it is like a good argument to say that Abrahamic religions are very, very much obsessed with their God. They believe there is only one God. They believe they condemn idolatry. They can't stand the idea of polytheism. But that being said, the way Christ preached Abrahamic God and his ideas and his values was fundamentally very much in opposition to the traditional Abrahamic belief. Like he basically, when he was asked by the Pharisees or the religious leaders of the Judaism about whether they should pay taxes to the Caesar or the Roman emperor who were essentially ruling the Israel at that time. So Jesus rightly pointed out that and asked, like, whose image is cast on this coin of dinari, which was the currency. and the Pharisee says it's Caesar's image. And Jesus points out that since it render into Caesar things that are Caesar's and render into God things that are God's. And basically, he's saying that since a coin is cast in the image of Caesar, to give it to them, give it to him. And since human beings are cast in the image of God, give it to God. That basically laid again, it was the primary motivation for the many American thinkers to put forward the idea of secularism, where he was essentially separating church and politics apart, and he was essentially separating God and politics apart. So that in ideologically, on a fundamental sense, Christianity is coherent with both democracy and secularism. And it was not a coincidence that it was only Christian nations which laid the democratic foundations and which ultimately spread throughout the world. The modern democratic foundations, be it the legal system, be it the economic system, the capitalism for that matter, as was rightly pointed out by the Max Weber in the 18th century, was a direct derivation of the Protestant ethic, Protestant Reformation of the 15th century, which basically emphasized on the individualism and individualistic idea and the individualistic pursuit of happiness and spiritual fulfillment. And that, again, is a Christian tradition. All the modern tenets of democratic foundations today that we rest is fundamentally based on Christian values and ideas. And I can't help but address the elephant in this room, that the point, I can't be intellectually honest and say that Christianity and Islam is on the same side of democracy and secularism. The Islamic tradition, which essentially has Hadith and Sharia as an integral part of its tradition. And we are aware of the Sharia and its laws and its tenets, and how Sharia laws basically promotes jizya, the tax for the non-Muslims, and all sorts of things which we might not see very much compatible with the modern democratic tradition. Now, I might fully agree with the point that Samat has made. Samat was also very rightfully pointing out that Christian traditions of democratic foundations, but when he was kind of softening the argument of why Abrahamic religion has its downsides, was pointing out the Islamic examples as well, because Islamic ideologies has fundamental incompatibilities with democracy, but it also has its good points as well. But mostly with the addition of Sharia as its integral part, it becomes very hard to assume that democracy and Islamic traditions are compatible. But I would rightly say Christianity is completely and theologically fully incompatible with democracy and secularism. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akash. So basically, Akash's stance is that maybe not all Abrahamic religions are compatible with secularism and democracy, and he is of the belief that modern secularism is fundamentally based on Christian principles, and with the importance of Sharia and Hadith in the Islamic religion, uh, that particular religion may not be very compatible with these concepts. So, thank you so much, Akash. Next up will be Ashwin.
Hello, can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes, Ashwin.
Okay. First of all, I would like to ask you the question: what is democracy? Democracy is where people have a say in the constitution, or the person who rules over them or governs them. So, is democracy always right? I would ask the first question. So, I would say that majority of the people are not always right. For example, I would come say, what about the helmet rule? I would say 99.99% of the people in India do not want to wear a helmet, but it is imposed on them. And even in colleges, I remember students used to mass bunk classes, and our teachers used to forcefully make us attend the classes. And in middle and dark ages, people were punished for silly reasons, example, translating the Bible. So I would say democracy is not always right. So even if you're talking about our Abrahamic religions as democratic, even if it is not democratic, it can still be right. Now, what is secularism? Secularism is where being unbiased, I would say, being religiously unbiased. So can a religion be truly secular? I would say no, unless there is just one religion in the world and everyone agrees with it. Now, is the Indian constitution secular? Indian constitution itself goes against Islam. For example, the minimum age to get married and the inheritance of women and divorce, etc. And again, Islam goes against the Indian constitution because they are on different sides. Theoretically, if my religion says eating humans is allowed, I mean, other religions would go against my religion. And if my religion says all should be vegan, then again, other religions would go against my own religion. So I would again say that religion cannot be truly secular unless there is only one religion in the world and everyone agrees with it. Now, the points against Abrahamic religion is idol worship is banned. Points against Christianity is there is no divorce, and God killed the firstborns of Egyptians for enslaving the Jews, and suicide is not allowed in Christianity. Now, points against Islam is source is Dr. Zakir Naik and Nabi Asli YouTube video channel. There is no change of religion, and child marriage and sex with the child, killing infidels and apostates, taxation of non-Muslims, enslaving, that is sex slaves by forced marriages, killing captive prisoners of war, including women and children, no blasphemy, no music, dance, and entertainment, restrictions on clothing, jihad, that is the promised destination to heaven, and against LGBTQ community, and no suicide again for Islam. And the point against Judaism is Israel is the promised land of the Jews. That's what they think. So that's what I have to say. I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. So great insights and great questions raised right there. I'll let Prince speak next.
Yeah, thanks, Rose. So when we talk of this definition of secularism, as in if we are talking about Abrahamic religions, I'm coming with a pre-assumption that we are talking about the Western definition. So of course, the Abrahamic religions are compatible with the Western definition of secularism because the Western definition is nothing more than the separation of state and religion. And even though I know there are several instances before this, but uh, the greatest show of this secularism was when Napoleon Bonaparte crowned himself the emperor instead of being crowned by the Pope. So, yes, of course, the Western definition of secularism does fit with Abrahamic religions because there's no religious persecution. Even though there is a religious persecution of majority, for example, in England to fulfill this DEI targets, but let's not go there. But if we are talking of the Indian definition of secularism, then no, it is completely incompatible because the Brahmic religions, by definition, are exclusivist. I really like the video, I guess, Samarth put up in the WhatsApp channel yesterday, where J. Sai Deepak was saying that by definition, if you are not with the Brahmic religions, then you are against them. As compared to the Indic religions, which are completely accommodating. And I heard some previous speakers who are of the opposite notion. So I would just like to give some examples of wherever the Abrahamic religions went and what happened to the native religion that was present before them. Zoroastrianism was finished. The tribal religions of all the, I will say, all the islands and the Red Indians were destroyed. The Australian religion was destroyed, and thousands, if not millions, of religions of Africa were destroyed. The greatest example is visible in the destruction of the religion that was present before the Abrahamic religions in Egypt, where the people were seen as uh, worshipping cats and I guess if I'm not wrong, then the sun god. And we see zero evidence of that. Now, I guess it was Akash who mentioned that modern democracy is based on the models of Christianity. Yes, maybe, but even though modern democracy is, but democratic traditions are not based on Christianity. They are based on the Greek ideas of Greek philosophy. And we talk of the Greek philosophy, then Christianity went there and destroyed their gods as well, where it was Nordic or the Greek religion. So yeah, Abrahamic religion not being compatible with any other religion. We can call them pagans, but Abrahamic religion is not even compatible with other Abrahamic ones, as we have seen in the Crusades to the current clash of civilizations between Islam and West, which is mostly Christian. So yeah, according to me, uh, there is little to no chance that Abrahamic religions can be compatible with the Indian definition of secularism. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prince. Great points. Next up will be Vivek.
Hi all. Actually, I like the points of the last speaker. So, getting little to the tangent, I would say Abrahamic religions uh, itself, like all three religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, have been in loggerheads with each other for a long period of time. So basically, these are the religions which have born out of the same place and are incompatible with each other in the first place. Okay, so there is a fundamental incompatibility and intolerance of the other sects or other religion in all these religions. So through that we can concur that even these religions are not compatible to any form of democracy or secularism. There was a point mentioned by one of the speakers that Christianity is very close to democracy, and it has, or roots of democracy are laid in Christianity. That may be true up to a certain point of the modern Christianity. But if you see just the past examples, if you just go maybe 100 years back, there are so many examples where Christianity was in opposition of any form of secularism or democracy. This is a modern form of Christianity which has been going in the developed nations in the Western countries, which seems to be incompatibility with the democracy. Still till today there are so many debates around that, like Christianity, the new elections which are going to come up, there is a debate about abortion and really practice of religion, and so many other points are there. So resting on these things, I would say my point is that this all the Abrahamic religions are not compatible with secularism or democracy.
Is that the end of your argument, Vivek?
Yeah, that is it.
Okay, thank you so much, Vivek. Next up will be Lokesh.
Hi all, good morning. Yeah, so I would like to agree to the fact that we are definitely going against democracy and secularism. Few things in my experience, because I was raised as in Hindu family, and I kind of more lean towards uh, becoming an agnostic atheist. So I'm not against any religion, but in religion, what I have experienced is it clouds the critical thinking. Okay. So when it clouds the critical thinking, it doesn't matter what kind of democracy you create, right? Or a voting system. A single person can influence the big crowd just by clouding their critical thinking, right? And get them to vote in their favor. Okay. So, and this is especially very strong in Abrahamic religion. Why? Because I have attended many Sunday schools. So what they typically preach is, so I've seen the pastor, right, was preaching the stuff. So he strongly claims that what is taught in the science, right, which is the evolution of species, right? So he says how it's not true, it's wrong. What's taught in the science book, it's wrong, right? And he says how human beings comes from monkeys, right? So why they are both alive right now? It's totally, full pseudoscience is what they're trying to, force now. Now, what I've seen is this thing is now being done by almost all the religions, right? Even in Islam. So it's pseudoscience. So now they're taking science to justify the points that's mentioned in their scriptures. right, which is not at all required. So this has become a bigger problem, I think, right now, because I've seen many well-educated people falling into these kind of traps. So you can read news about people in Andhra Pradesh trying to do some satanic rituals, right? And they are like college professors, and they kill their daughters. So you can see to what level these critical thinking can be clouded with such, religious practice. Maybe the religions have started with a good intention, but I see it is becoming bad and bad as we progress rather than getting better. So that's all.
All right, thank you, Lokesh. Next up will be Akash.
Thank you. So, like, I want to address few points made by our speakers. Like Ashwin made a point in his screen that can a religion be truly secular? And he said, no, if there is only one religion, that's possible. But I believe, yeah, Christianity can be truly secular, even though it is against idolatry on its fundamental basis. It does not condemn the choice of other people to do that. The Christianic proposition, basically, which is taught in the Bible and which was essentially taught by the early apostles and Christ himself, was if someone was to go on that path of idolatry, which is wrong by Christian definition, they are not to be condemned, and and as a Christian, people were prompted to pray for them, not to manipulate them, not to change them by force, not to do any strong handing with them, but to pray for them, and they follow the right path. So I believe that form of tolerance, that form of acceptance of the choice of other people was something unique about Christianity. So I disagree with Ashwin's point on that one. And then Prince also pointed out that Abrahamic religion, Christianity destroyed he pointed out that democratic principles are basically coming from the Greek philosophies. And basically, Abrahamic religion, Christianity in particular, destroyed the Greek religions. And first of all, the democratic principles which came was not a result of the Greek religions that were present. It was a result of secular, non-religious thinkers like Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, etc. of that point of time. That basically laid the Greek philosophical foundation. And secondly, Christianity didn't destroy Greek religions in the traditional sense, as many people would think. Because in the first 4 centuries of the Christianity's rise, basically from the small tribal religion to essentially spreading to the whole of Rome, the only people who were died or persecuted were Christians. Like the Roman emperor went full thrust to suppress Christianity to the extent that it was become a famous pastime for people of working class people to watch Christians getting eaten by lions in the Colosseum. That was the Christianity. That, and somehow still by seeing all this, by facing all this persecution, Christianity basically rose from the dead, kind of like their God himself, and Christianity kind of conquered. So when they said destroyed the Greek religion, it wasn't by arms, it wasn't by sword, it was by love and faith alone. And that, I believe, something is truly special about Christianity. And secondly, people always point out, oh, Christian values are this, but Christianity has done horrendous things during Crusade and etc. But again, I want to point it out. In its first 1,000 years of Christian history, right until Pope Urban II of 1000 AD, before that, Christianity even condemned the presence of military itself in their nations. It was only after the spread of Islam from 700 AD to 1000, and they destroyed the biggest churches in Egypt. They destroyed the biggest churches in Turkey, and it was only after the fall of Constantinople that the Pope Urban II changed his stance and basically changed the church's stance on pacifism, and they basically took their arms. And that was the straw which basically caused Christianity to turn violent. And again, I'm not justifying that in any regard by saying that basically Islam did is violence, so Christianity is justified to do violence, and it was very horrendous violence. I'm not condoning that. But the point is, like when Christian crusaders were killing and murdering people, there can always be a point which can be made that what did Christ preach? Is it incoherent with Christ believes, or the beliefs of early believers or the apostles? No, we can always go back to the Bible and see, well, that's not what Christ preached, and we can basically start new. And that's exactly what happened within Western world. But the problem with Islam is that if you see pillaging and barbaric Islamic hordes, which basically ravaged all of India and all of the Middle East, when they go back to their traditions, basically that's what is happening from the start. So I always say this to people, that it is not very wise to mistake the evil things committed by the individuals and attribute that mistake to the ideology. What does the ideology actually preaches? Christianity preaches tolerance of the uppermost kind, because it has a God who literally died for their enemies. So basically, I believe it's very wrong to assume, to point out some people or who did evil things in the name of Christianity and take that blame and shift into Christ. I believe that's not very fair to think. And lastly, I want to make the atheistic argument, which was put forward by Lokesh, about the critical thinking argument, how religions are not very critical thinking. Now, I believe in critical thinking of the highest order. I believe intellectually, while exploring the material world, we need to be very much critical, and that's only lead to the development of scientific temper. But there is a degree, there is a line when need to be drawn, where we have to have certain beliefs and truth system which is unquestionable. That lays the moral foundations of any society. For example, if you are a truly critical thinking person, you will never come and make peace with the idea that all human beings are created equal, because they are not. Evolution taught that we are just another mammal and we just evolved differently. There is no reason to believe that all human beings are created equal. Yet we believe that. And that lays the foundation of the modern human rights. And that, again, is a Christian ethic. So that's my point. I'm looking forward to understand how Christianity is not congruent. Most people are not in the belief that Christianity is congruent with the democracy and secularism, while I do. But I genuinely believe that this fundamental Christian philosophy is always mistaken by the evil things done by few people in the name of Christ. Yeah, that's my argument.
Just some small request to people, there are a lot of people waiting to respond. So maybe if you can spend close in 2 to 3 minutes, that would be great. So that everybody can speak, and then we can have a more detailed expansion in the unmoderated session at 12:30.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I have to be a little more. So,
Sure.
Okay, Manish, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I just have a few points that I would like to mention. So I believe that Abrahamic religions like Christianity and Islam both can be incompatible with secular values. And I do have some examples for that. Like Christians, we know that they run a lot of missionaries. So, and the condition is that they assist the poor with the condition that they have to convert, the person has to convert to Christianity. So that is definitely not secular. So if you are being secular, you should help anyone in need. And then for Islam, I have that a lot of mosques, like most mosques, don't allow people from other religion to enter. And even like the Hajj Yatra, like the Mecca, that has a strict rule that people from other religions cannot enter their that. So that is definitely not secular. So there are a lot of instances in both Christianity and Islam which are not secular in values. And democracy is like just the will of, like bluntly, it's a will of the majority, and having the four pillars in place, that's the free press, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. So if these things are being maintained in a country, then that can be called democratic. But if the democratic values of a specific country is secularism, then these religions can be incompatible with the democratic values of that country too. So that is my take.
Thank you so much, Manish. Monica, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a few points. So, as I believe that as the Abrahamic religions stand today, especially Islam and Christianity, the way it is practiced and preached today, they are more incompatible than other religions with secularism and democracy. I do not know as much about Judaism, so I don't have an opinion there. But the thing that I want to talk about is the role of religion versus government. The reason why both of them came up, they satisfy different purposes in our lives. So religion came because of the need of a human to have a sense of belonging, to have faith, and government's role is to create an order out of chaos, streamline, have someone mentioned common moral foundations. I'm not so sure that it's a common moral foundation, though you would like to believe that. It's more of common guidelines that everybody has to adhere to when we have so much diversity amongst us. So the purpose of government and religion are two different things in our lives. So secularism is about having an equal voice in the eyes of law for everyone, which is kind of trying to connect religion and government together and show us how that is supposed to look in society today. But if you see the purpose of religion, it comes from a sense of wanting to belong. And whenever you have a sense of belonging, automatically there is a narrative that creeps up, which is us versus them. So automatically, any religion, I don't think it's specific to Abrahamic religions, any religion does not is not very compatible with secularism to the 100%, including Hinduism. But religions like Christianity and Islam, as they are practiced today, they govern through stricter rules, which are mostly enforced, stricter interpretation of their scriptures. So in that sense, they are more incompatible. But having said that, I would also say that the religion also evolves with time, and the religions that will last, whether it's a religion or a government, any religion that suppresses minority voices cannot last for long, as we have seen through history time and time again. So I do believe that we need to balance critical thinking with faith, and any religion that does not manage to do that cannot last for long. And even now, like from the recent things that the Pope has mentioned and so on, the things that they are supporting indirectly, we can see that even Christianity is beginning to evolve because they recognize that. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
All right, great points, Monica. Thank you so much. Sandeep, you can go ahead.
So every religion takes its roots from the culture, and a culture that it has grown from has a very large effect on where it would be. That said, the very fact that the human beings have a longing for identity. So once they have grown up in a certain culture, that culture imposes them to adhere to that identity, which is again enhanced by the religion, right? But when the critical thinking kicks in, and when the majority of the people were like, okay, we have to move away from this kind of whatever we had that we built around us as an identity, which is crippling us from the inside, that is where then the democracy comes in. And the secularism is a hope that we all hold on to, that we try to give the same rights or same voice and same representation for everybody. And that is what we try to represent as a humanity. That said, there are like the same religion from one country has a drastical way of perceiving it than when it comes to other countries, because again the culture they have grew up in, right? That is what their actual identity is. And then the religion comes in and opposes, makes its impression on them, which they eventually try to shift their identity into religion instead of the culture they grew up in. So let's say if let's say if the Christianity or Islamic religions or any other religion would, let's say if they haven't imposed their culture or religion onto the, let's say, some African countries, right? There are some countries, almost all countries in Africa usually have a majority of Islamic and Christianity, right? So let's say if I go and build a church over there and come back, that is not going to do anything, right? They will not become Christians. But you go out of your way, you show philanthropy in the name of religion, you bring up a lot of people from the poverty, and then you give them the identity that they don't have as a religious, that the religion that they don't have in the beginning. Maybe they had a cultural identity, but you're giving them a religious identity, right? So it doesn't matter. Okay, let's say even if I assume that okay, all the Abrahamic religions are compatible with democracy and secularism, the very fact that they're going out of their way in the current world, whatever happened in the history happened. Okay, right? Nobody can change it, and every religion and every place and every country and every if you go throughout the history, there are we can talk about a lot of things on every part of the world. So even if I ignore everything that happened in the past, the current state of any religion which is going out of their way to a different culture and imposing their own religion on them itself itself shows that they're not democratic, because they're not giving them the right to have the critical thinking. So yeah, if whatever the current world exists, and if the religions are going out of their own countries or own cultures and imposing their religions, then they are not compatible with democracy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. Samarth, you can go ahead.
I do not want to elaborate more on my change my position, but I would like to point out some historical facts. About how one of the speakers said that in the first 1,000 years of the existence of Christianity, before the latter half of the 11th century, he said that Christianity was a peaceful religion and it spread its religion only through peace and love. I think this is it's false, like basically historically false. So even in that period of the first 1,000 years of Christianity, it did become the state religion, and it did suppress the pagan religions. So there is the example of how in the beginning of the 4th century, the Roman Empire, about 80% of it were pagans and 20% Christians. And by the end of the century, Christians were in the majority. So in that time period, what happened was one of the emperors, he declared Christianity to be the state religion. And one more emperor, when he came to power, he basically imposed Christianity forcefully on the masses and prohibited the pagan daily worship rituals. And there were mobs of who were desecrating pagan religious sites. So it was this state suppression and combined with the mob rampage that led to the rapid decline of pagan religions within 1 century, where they were a majority. They became an oppressed minority who could not follow their religion in public. So this was the attitude of Christianity then towards pagan religions. It was not just the pagan religions that they encountered in the Roman Empire, whether it be the traditional Greek religion, or the traditional Egyptian religion. So the pagan religions, wherever they encountered during this period, whether it was the Germanic tribes or the Slavic tribes, everywhere the effect was the same, that there was this state suppression of pagan religions, which effectively led to pagans not being able to follow their religions in public, and this led to a massive decline in their percentage. So that was their attitude with respect to pagans, and with respect to their attitude towards heretics, whom they consider heretics within their own religion. When the present day Catholic Church, when it came to power in the Roman Empire, they began to violently suppress what they perceived as these heretic sects, and the punishment it varied greatly depending upon the time and circumstance. It could be corporal punishment, or at times it could be like a capital punishment. So that varied, but the propagating of the doctrines which they considered as heretic, it was banned by the state from the very start. So I just want to make this clarification that throughout most of its history, the attitude towards pagans and heretics, it was this way. Let's say the 17th century, when some brutal religious wars happened and the subsequent Enlightenment. So did the doctrines, official doctrines, and the state policy change? So it was these historical facts that I just want to bring out, and not like further elaborate on my earlier position. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samarth. Next up will be Vivek.
Yeah, thank you, Rose. So, first observation about the room, I would like to ask others as well that we have come to quite a close to this conclusion that out of the three Abrahamic religions, Islam and Judaism are not compatible with uh, this secular values or democratic values. The only point I think we are discussing or going ahead because of the very good arguments given by Akash is that Christianity is compatible or not. So I have a few points for that, which I would like to tell right away. And first is that all three Abrahamic religions, including Christianity, are driven by one book. So they have a one book, then that book guides everybody what to do and what not to do. And again, any other book which has come in that religion after that is uh, second to that. So that one book idea is basically in contrast with the secular idea or democratic idea. Second point is that when you have a state which is very much close to religion and religion is the guiding principle, then there are different centers of power that appear. So, for example, there is a constant debate of church versus the government, or church versus, in American context, church versus the White House, or the uh, what is the effect of church on the White House and its decisions. So that again goes against democracy. While I agree that Christianity has taken different forms during different periods of time, from its starting in first 1,000 years, there are so many examples that every 100 years takes a new form, and there are new things which people follow in that, and some things are legal at one time, and so same things are just condemned at the other point of time. For example, right now, LGBTQ rights or whatever they are asking, you may agree with that or not, but that was kind of illegal in Christianity not very long ago. And now it is not considered illegal by any of the Christian followers. It just, some people condemn it and some people even accept this. So that is ever evolving. So there can be a point in future that when Christianity becomes 100% secular or 100% democratic, but not as of now, as per my view. And there was a point given that this is individual, and the acts of the individuals should not be put on, and philosophy is different. And acts of the individual should not be put up upon the full religion. So this, because individual, whoever are following the religion, their acts are also inspired by the philosophy of that religion. That is my point. And same thing is told by so many times about communism also. Communism is a different subject, but that individuals who have done so many wrongs in the name of communism, that does not make communism wrong. So that is also a kind of an analogy in this case. And one more point, that many people are mentioning that idol worship is not allowed in Abrahamic religions. But I see there is a difference in that I think idol worship is there, but that idol worship exists in different formats in those religions. Like if you go in the front of cross and you then you worship Mother Mary's idol and so many things. Even in Islam, there are signs and fixtures. This comes very close to idol worship. Again, that is just an additional point. I rest my case here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Prince, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Rose. Yeah, so first of all, regarding the ideas of the tolerance and the Christianity beliefs of tolerance. First of all, tolerance in itself is a very negative connotated word because tolerance literally means that they are tolerating the other religion or the other sect just because they don't want to come out as offensive or something like that. That in itself, the definition of the word does not fit with the word secularism. Now, it does not matter what a person believes in. It just we only see what is their practice. Now, adding to what Samarth has already said, the first part of the Roman Empire before the acceptance of Christianity is something that's arguable because it was the notion of the Roman Empire even before the creation of Christianity as a religion that the lion eating thing was a form of entertainment. But what happened when the Roman rulers accepted Christianity? Especially I guess there was some sort of confusion there. Constantine first was the first ruler that accepted Christianity in the late 3rd century CE. When I say late, I mean the second half. And I'll not talk about him because I revere him a lot, but his son, Constantine's son, only second to the line of the throne. He ruled around 340 to 360 CE, approx that area, and he made several laws that are not very loving and secular as such when we look at that through that lens. The sacrifice by the pagan religion was forbidden. Okay, that may be kind of acceptable because there was child sacrifice and all. But the worship of image was forbidden and it was made a capital crime. I don't need to explain what not following a capital crime leads to. Another order which was very unique to the Romans was he ordered closing of all the temples. Now that to me does not sound secular. Maybe second to the third to the line of the throne from Constantine first, the first ruler who accepted Christianity. From the late 360 CEs, the persecution of pagans started immensely. The pagans were blatantly murdered on the roads of Rome, rightly pointed out by Samarth that the pagans decreased from 80% to minority. And this number of change or this demographic change does not occur through love and through proper propagation of religion. This is an unnatural growth. Another example with the spread of religion with love is Mother Teresa. She took the funds from the donors, mostly Indians. She kept the patients in inhuman conditions and told them to convert to Christianity in their deathbeds while in pain. One quote that's very famous of Mother Teresa is, "Let them be in pain. It will bring them closer to Jesus." And what happened to her by the Catholic Church, the head Catholic Church? She was granted a saintship. She was made a saint. This is not love, let alone secularism. I will wonder if it's even compatible with the ideals of humanity. So yes, the persecution of pagans is real, and it happened throughout the later part of the Roman Empire when the rulers converted to Christianity, and Christianity was made the state religion. One point I pointed out earlier was Abrahamic religions are not even compatible with other Abrahamic ones. And a great contemporary example is Muhammad bin Salman. I guess it was 2 or 3 days earlier when he said that they will kill me, insinuating to the Saudi Arabic mob and even the personal bodyguards of MBS that he will be assassinated if he accepts Israel as a nation, which is an Abrahamic religion as well, which is a nation of the Abrahamic religious people as well. And this level of hate or complete absolutism and this idea of living in ghettos and not accepting that the country who is being run by the ideals of another Abrahamic religion itself is even a religion, is even a country, sorry, clearly shows about how secular the ideals of both Islam and Christianity as a religion are. Yes, Rose.
Thank you so much, Prince. Great points right there. Ashwin, please go ahead.
Yeah. I would like to say, first of all, that a religion cannot be only judged based on what its people did to others. Whether it is rulers or common man. Example, people are talking about suppressing pagan religions and other things. Religion, especially Abrahamic, can only be judged on based on what is written in the book, that is the holy book. This is because people are very likely to do things outside of what is written in the holy books. So one must quote the verses in the holy books to make their points. This is what I think. I'm done.
All right. Thank you so much, Ashwin. Akash, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, I will address, Samarth had made some good points about how pagan persecution was done by Christians and how Christians were essentially, basically I said how Christians were basically peaceful till 10th century. Basically, that's not what I meant. I was pointing about the Crusades, how the Jihad versus Crusade was only started as a direct result of Islamic aggression, and it was violent Christian expansionism didn't start on its own. I was talking about that when I pointed about 10th century starting of crusades. And regarding pagan executions, first of pagan persecutions, people always say what happened in the 4th century, 5th century. I always want to ask what happened in the first 4th centuries. Like Christians were played around with, like the level of persecutions that Christianity suffered there during that point of time is uncomparable with any persecution of that. The point to such an extent, it became a pastime to see Christians getting persecuted. That's how bad the state is. And again, Ashwin made a good point that it's like we shouldn't judge religion based on what other people do, and rather based on what religion preaches. Exactly, and that's a very good point to say. And Christianity, religion don't kill people. People kill people, and people don't need mostly don't need much reasons to kill people. So I always say what does Christianity preaches, what does other religions preaches on an ideological basis. Ideological comparison is much better to get to the truth of it. And since we are talking only about Abrahamic religions and not about whether Christians are secular or Muslims are secular, we are talking about ideologies here, whether one ideology is compatible with democracy or secularism. That being said, Ashwin also pointed out that it is also very fair to judge religion based on the scriptures. It is fair mostly, but it is not fair for Christianity to judge based on its scriptures, because in Islam, the word of God becomes a book, Quran. The Quran is basically infallible text of God. That's what they believe. But in Christianity, the word of God becomes a man, Christ. So it's not like a Christian shouldn't ask what Bible says. Rather, he should ask what would Jesus say. And when we ask that question, would Jesus start pagan executions? No, there is no reason to believe that. In fact, he literally healed people even when he was dying. So that was completely, even he was forgiving his enemies even unto his death. So there is no reason to believe that Christ would order such a thing. So I always come down to that point only. Like what Christians did, I don't have to say about much that, because I can't vouch for most of the Christians. I don't know most of the Christians, but I know Christ. And what Christ has done, it has been well attested. It has been known. And even his early disciples, who are more accurate representation of Christ's belief, has promptly upholded the idea of tolerance and love for the other people. And Prince also pointed out that tolerance is like essentially putting up with other people simply to not come off as offensive. But I don't see that way. Tolerance is purely based on love. It can only be that way, because I understand when we are basically tolerating someone as it is traditionally understood these days, it essentially means just putting up with someone. But the way Christ defined tolerance, it was about accepting and loving other regardless of whatever they do to you, or regardless of whatever they do with themselves. And that's what Christ preached. I also, like, when we are arguing about Christianity, I will like you to focus more on Christ than about Christians. And again, Vivek made a good point that communism is also defended in that manner by how communist violence doesn't justify the fallibility of communism. But that's not the case, Vivek, because communism in its essence, Marx essentially called for a violent overthrow of the bourgeois system. He essentially calls for violence, while Christ denounced violence. And it is explicitly mentioned throughout the scriptures. It is explicitly mentioned like in his life himself. So I believe by focusing on Christian persecutions of the pagans and not focusing more on Christ, we are not essentially being intellectually honest here when comparing the ideology's compatibility with democracy and secularism. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insights, Akash. Saju, please go ahead.
Yeah. The topic is whether Abrahamic religions are less compatible with democracy. I believe that is the topic. And
No, it's are they compatible or incompatible?
Are they compatible or incompatible? Yes, thank you. So in my past, I tried to define the arena of the topic, and I faced a lot of difficulties in those. So I'm not going to define what is a religion and what is a democracy. Few speakers in this session has already tried to define it, although I don't agree with them. But I would like to touch upon what are the characteristics. So let's compare the characteristics. A religion is characterized by having a god, or by having a god, and the religion is characterized by having a book of faith or something, and then it is characterized by a system of priests who are kind of appointed by higher authorities. A religion is characterized by worship. A religion is characterized by unquestionable faith. Whereas let's compare that with democracy. So democracy is not about a king or a queen. It is about bringing consensus. It is use of logic, of truth. Democracy doesn't care for who is having the higher authority. It cares for who is right. So it is characterized by decentralization of powers like judiciary, the media, and the legislative and the executive, of course. So democracy is characterized by equal power to all human beings, right? So I think by itself, all religions are incompatible with democracy. I would like to say that. And if you are trying to find out who is less or more compatible, the distance is so far away for all religions. It is like many millions of kilometers away they are standing from democracy. So I don't think any religion is compatible. So and then trying to find nuances between religions as to Abrahamic religion does this, that, and all. is a futile exercise because anyway they are far away from democracy. Thank you.
Great argument, Saju. I personally very much agree with the perspective that you have. So, great points. Thank you. Lokesh, please go ahead.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So as far as religion is concerned, I think if it stays within the personal space, right, and not trying to influence others, it should be fine. Because even I like getting quotes from of Christianity, which is useful. So now I think Akash mentioned about Christ, right? See, Christ is different because he's not a Christian, right? So the religion Christianity is based on his followers, right? So which makes that religion. Now the problem there lies here is it can be interpreted differently by differently, right? It can be used for good also, it can be used for bad also, but now what we see it's extremely used in the bad context, right? Which is seriously damaging is what I would say, rather than helping things out. Because the time it was good, especially when there was problems, right? When let's take there is people suffering for food, right? Yes, Christianity helped. So these people who believe in Christianity went ahead, provided sustenance to these people, and they are willing to convert to Christianity. Yes, that's absolutely fine because they need food. But right now, that conversion part doesn't really make sense, right? So it's maybe to a very minor group of people, but right now it's targeting people and only affecting their critical thinking and making them think in the ways they don't really want to think. So that's what I wanted to add.
Great. Thank you, Lokesh. 1 second, guys. So, I believe next up will be Samar.
So, pardon, Rose, like I did not hear. I just want to confirm. Was it I who was coming up next?
Yes, Samar.
All right. I would just like to address some of the points. In this debate, why we are discussing specifically of Abrahamic religions and not religions originating from the Indian subcontinent. I think there's a specific reason for that one. Well, so throughout its like existence, Hinduism it had like a unique approach to how we should deal with other religions. So that is like distinct from how the Abrahamic religions they viewed other religions. I think it is important to like elaborate a little bit more about this distinction. So if you go to any like Vaishnava or Shaiva today, they would say that of course that their respective religions it is the straightest path to heaven or liberation. But then they would also say that other religions uh, and they too are valid and they're like less true, but they are true in themselves nonetheless. So their particular sect that is the straightest path to heaven, and the other religions they lead to a more meandering path to heaven. So they do not they never like engaged in the vilification of other sects. This can be seen throughout the existence of Hinduism, where even 500 BCE, there were uh, there was a good atmosphere which fostered argumentation among the various orthodox sects of Hinduism and the various heterodox sects, and all of this, Jainas, Buddhas, and what we call as atheist materialists today, they were they were able to propagate their religions. And the most prevalent attitude of Hindus during then as well as Hindus during now is our respective religions is the uh, it is the truest path, but there is an element of truth contained in other religions too. And following those religions, it's not that big of a deal or a problem, because eventually you are going to get liberated anyway. Whereas if you look at how the Abrahamic religions, they traditionally viewed other religions was, they considered any religion that is not their own as at best they were like mistaken, at worst it was like a tool of Satan. That is what they literally believe. And they believed that with respect to not just pagans but the sects within their particular religions which they considered heretical. So I think this distinction, it goes into the heart of why for most of its existence, the Abrahamic religions used to persecute religions that they considered as belonging to the infidels, or religions that they considered as heretic. Yeah, so I would just like to make this distinction, and also the some of the arguments that were put forth previously, that how the official church doctrine, where they called for crusades against not just Muslims, but also historically they have called crusades against pagans and heretics too, called by the Pope of the Catholic Church. The argument presented was how they are not like
Sorry to
true
interrupt,
representatives
Samad,
of
but your
Christ.
voice is not very clear.
Just a minute. The arguments that were presented previously about how all of this Catholic Church calls to crusades against pagans and heretics, those were not really true representatives of Christ. Okay, like individual Christians, they might believe so, or individual people might believe so, but Christians historically, they have not believed that way. They considered that call to crusade against pagans and heretics were very much valid and a representation of the Christian faith. So I'm in no position to judge who is the real Christian over here. I will leave the debate among themselves, among the Christians themselves, to debate and come to a conclusion of who the true and false Christian over is here. I would just like to point out the historical fact. And this is, I think, a common fallacy that is engaged in regularly. Whenever we point out any atrocity committed by a religion, of course, the religious believers, they're going to say that is committed by no true believer. So I won't argue against that point, but I would just like to point out the fact that historically that is what people have done. So that is the part that concerns me, and I don't want to get into the debate of who is the true or the true believer or the false believer. I just want to point out the historical facts of how people, what they believed and what they behaved. That will be it from me now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samad. Ashwin, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I would like to say that, first of all, when you talk about Christianity, there are many factions of Christianity. And I have interacted with the Latter-day Saints and Jehovah's Witnesses. And okay, some groups of Christianity believe that Jesus was God, and some groups believe that Jesus wasn't God, but God itself is the entity that created us. And Akash pointed out that what is written in the scriptures, what is said by Jesus has more value than what is written in the scriptures. But Christians in general believe that what is written in the scriptures itself is the word of God, because that was conveyed by many prophets. Bible is a collection of 63 books, by the way. So what is written in the scriptures is the word of God, I would say, and that should be looked upon into, is what I think. I'm done.
All right. Thank you so much, Ashwin. Saju, please go ahead.
Just few points. I feel, I think the purpose of religion is for social cohesion and, the group fidelity, things like that. And the purpose of democracy is the search for truth and progress and justice and things like that, which is like comparing apples and oranges. So I still maintain I have not heard any argument which tries to bring both of them on the same plateau, even to start making a comparison.
Okay, thank you, Saju. Prince, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Rose. Yeah, to the speaker, I guess it was Akash who spoke, or Ashwin who spoke before me. People are not quoting religious texts, Ashwin, because they would rather have their life. We have seen what happens when you quote text in the case of Mukul Sharma. Anyways, Ashwin pointed out that we should rather look at early disciples of Christ than looking after like 1,000 or 2,000 years what's happening after Christ. I do kind of agree with that statement because the philosophy of Christ might have been lost in this 1,000 2,000 years. But Christ died around 30 to 33 CE, around that time, plus minus 5 years. I would say that 250 years after his death would be recent and early disciples in the greatest game of things. I'll bring you back to the same argument. What did he do? He ordered closing of all temples. That to me does not look secular in any way, shape, or form. Now, someone said that Christians don't represent Christ. I'm sorry, if Christians don't represent Christ, then who does? The Jews? I'll say at least the church represent Christ or Christianity. It was church who ordered crusades. It was church who ordered colonialism, saying, go and find the Eastern world and India for God, glory, and gold. It was the churches who kind of advocated the Roman emperors to suppress the pagans and the infidels. It was the church who kind of ordered the recent empires of whether it be Napoleon or the Great Holy Empire or the UK for that matter, to go and wage war on the Muslim world. It was the church who came up and, to a larger extent, even accepted that the kings are the kings are a direct physical form of God in this material realm, visible in the writings of several of speakers, whether it be Saint Augustine or I can't remember the other one. He was a saint of around 5 to 6 BC, 5 to 6 CE. Sorry. So, if the churches has kind of elevated the rulers to the level of king, to the level of God, or the physical incarnation of God, then why the actions of those kings should not be associated with God? And if we are to separate the kings to the gods, then I'll really like for someone to step up and say that churches of that time were wrong. The churches who were representing Christianity as a religion of that time was wrong. Yeah, Rose.
Thank you so much, Prince. So, a lot of pertinent questions raised there. Akash, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. So it is getting. So I want to point out certain objections that have been made by our friends. He has said Prince argued here. Am I audible, Rose? Hello?
Yes, you are, Akash.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you
Okay.
are.
Okay. So basically, Prince said, who can represent Christ if not Christians? I just want to tell you that only you can represent yourself. Just like only Christ can represent Christ. And he assumed that 2 centuries apart from Christ is very recent phenomena. No, even the next day after Christ was not recent enough to truly represent Christ. In fact, that's what the Christian theology believes. No one can come close to the perfection that Christ has attained. Again, I am not following the religion, or I am not following the ideology. I'm not proposing the ideology of Theodosius, or I'm not following the ideology of Pope Urban II. I'm following the ideology of Christ. And Christ, what did Christ said, and what did you do? It's completely different from. It's very unfortunate when we mistake both these two together. Again, people, then this argument was made by, what about communism? Communism, people always say communism wasn't right. This is not actual communism. No, communism deliberately claims for violent overthrow of it. Like Bible, on the other hand, Christ, on the other hand, speaks of love and non-violence. That's quite obvious. I don't know how people don't find sense in that. Again, someone rightly pointed out that this is a common logical fallacy that is used by the religious people to basically say, yeah, that they were not exact true religious people. That's why they did all these horrible things. Yeah, that's very true to some degree, because when we look about other religions, but about in Christianity, we can rightly see that, because that's what Christ directly preached and did. But about Islam, that's not what the right thing or happened. Prophet literally went on a rampage. Prophet literally went on a jihad and killed other people and enslaved other people. That's not what Jesus did, or that's not what Jesus wanted his followers to do. Again, we are only talking about the theology here, ideology here. We are not talking about what people did. Like horrible things have been done by people in all sorts of names. Like Nazis even associated with Christianity. I don't know how even they make sense of that, but they did. People always do that. So I always want to rightfully point this out, that religion don't kill people. People kill people. So people always kill people in the name of something or the other. So it's very intellectually dishonest to say that and attribute that mistake to the our fundamental ideologies. And again, someone pointed out that Hinduism is very tolerant of other religion. Yeah, Hinduism is definitely tolerant of other deities and multiplicity of God. But what about the people inside? Like, I believe, Samarth, you recognize the inherent caste discrimination, the oppression that was prevalent in the early stages of Hinduism, which ultimately resulted into the rise of Buddhism and Jainism. Like the rise of Buddhism and Jainism fundamentally rested on challenging the authority of Brahmanical authority, which was prevalent in the Hinduism at that point of time. Yeah, Hinduism is very tolerant of other gods, but they're not tolerant of the people inside. And that's the fundamental flaw with Hinduism. And Hinduism, when we say whether Hinduism is compatible with democracy, how can you be compatible with democracy if you believe certain people are born out of the foot of the ultimate deity? Like, I don't see how that is compatible with democracy. I don't see how people, if all people are not created equal, if you don't believe in that ideology, how can that be compatible with democracy? Again, I'm not very much avid understander of Hinduism, but I am avid follower of Buddhism and Jainism. So, like, I understood that, and Buddhism and Jainism's major contention was that caste iniquity and the Brahmanical authority, which was integral part of the Hinduism in 4th century BC, which was very early by that time. And the caste egalitarianism, which basically started in Hinduism, was only during the Bhakti movement of the 14th century, which is well after the Mughal invasions, which is well after the Sultanate period. So I believe, yeah, while Hinduism has its tolerance for other religions, while Hinduism doesn't have its tolerance for the people inside. And again, Lokesh pointed out that Christ is something and we are something. Yeah, that definitely I understand. Like Christ is God. No one can be like God. But that's the ideal. That's the ideal we have to pursue. And we are only talking about ideology here. Like all people can claim. Like tomorrow, if I go around and said and did something horrible, and if I say God made me do it, I'm being intellectually and theologically dishonest here. And we should not be naive to believe that. And while we are talking about ideology, it's better to stick on to ideology itself. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Akash. So it is 12:26 p.m., guys. So the speakers that will now speak, please sum up your arguments and make your concluding statements, and we will be moving into the unmoderated session. Sandeep, please go ahead.
Yeah. See, every country has a constitution, right? So does we, and it's a group of people that we believe in. Okay, this set of rules are good for us and good for the society, and that is what the religions used to play the role when they were born or invented. And you can attach the origin of the religion to the god or your own imagination. It's up to you. So the very fact that constitution undergoes amendments. So like religions have come, undergone amendments for century or millennia, right? But we are at a point right now, so-called the 21st century, that we have a constitution, right? And the constitution triumphs everything else because we are all in it, right? We are all believe in it. And the constitution itself gives the right for you to have a freedom of religion and expression. And you might argue, okay, constitution has nothing to do with my own. I mean, what has constitution has to give me the right to do it? No, it's not like it's giving you the right to do it. It is allowing everyone's have an expression of freedom. It is not trying to suppress it, right? So when we already have a constitution that we all believe in, it doesn't matter if it get conflict with your own belief or it is connected to God. It is against your constitution, that your own belief. So any religion that goes against the constitution is against democracy. So yes, almost if you put out if you put it out there, almost every religion is against democracy. But again, if I have to quote the example of Germany, right? Almost 40 to 45% Germans identify as non-religious, right? But it doesn't mean they don't have the cultural history of Christianity. They do have it, and they are a part of the cultural history. But they acknowledge, and they left behind. Okay, this is not like it is supposed to be. We have made a better constitution, right? So it works for everybody, so it's a better one. So sticking and holding on to something which is harmful to you and your own fellow human beings is always against democratic values. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. I'll let Lokesh go ahead.
Hello.
Lokesh, are you there?
Okay.
Yes. See, again, I think I just want to mention the point about what Akash said. See, it's not, yes, Christ is good, or if we take the moral values, yes, everything is fine. But the religion or the democracy, it is carried out by the people, not by a single person or an entity, right? Now, in that case, if a specific religion, that moral values is interpreted by differently by different people, it's going to affect whether it's the religion or the democracy. So that's the only point I want to make.
All right, thank you, Lokesh. Vivek, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, excellent points made by Akash, and I have total respect for him for making so many points, going against the room even. But I have just one. I think the topic of the discussion was that one second. It is that Abrahamic religions are incompatible with democracy and secularism, and not about. It is not that the word of Christ is against or not, like word of, for that sense, word of Muhammad or otherwise. Okay, so he has very cleverly shifted this to from Bible or whole of Christianity or church to just Jesus Christ. It's like if I'm discussing about Hinduism, I will just, according to my point, I will just shift everything to Rama. Or maybe if I am feeling like it, I will shift everything to Krishna and what he has done. And in the image of him, everything should be done. So I think this again flaws that the Christianity is having. It is being covered through the acts of Jesus Christ and the Son of God himself. Thank you.
Vivek, I just want to address that point that you made. I agree. This is a common fallacy which is used by many religious people to just opportunistically focus on certain characters of the religious ideology to fit their narrative. But Vivek, Christianity in its purest essence, that's what Bible preaches. Christianity is not about Bible. Christianity is not about Catholic Church. Christianity is not about Pope. Christianity is about Christ and Christ alone. Like I already pointed out, like the equivalent of Quran in Islam, in Christianity is not Bible. The equivalent of Quran is Christ in Bible. Like I already pointed out that the word of God becomes a book in Islam, Quran, but the word of God becomes a man. Like that, literally, that's what pointed out in the Bible. That's what the Christians believe. So it's very important to judge Christianity purely based on the Christian foundations, which is the foundations of Christ, which was the ideas taught by the Christ. While I do agree that it can be perverted at times by people across, especially when it builds or becomes a certain stature, it can be exploited by the power-hungry people to further their causes or put forward their propaganda. And that's exactly what happened. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that Christianity or the church particularly started the colonialism with the gold, glory, and God argument. That was perfectly on point. I'm not denying that Goan Inquisitions, suppression, the Spanish Inquisitions, and murdering of thousands of people in the name of Christianity were done. That's definitely true. But I am only purely speaking on the ideological basis here. And I believe Christian ideology and the ideology of Christ in particular is very much congruent by a large margin. If you compare it with Muhammad, no. If you compare with any other ideologies, it doesn't even come close. Christian ideologies fundamentally are congruent with the modern democratic and secularistic foundations that we have today. Because like Christianity was one of a kind and the first of its kind during its time for this belief. I believe that's why Abrahamic religion in general, not Abrahamic general, I'm not like, I don't think that would be very intellectually honest on my side to say, yeah, all Abrahamic religions are congruent with democracy and secularism. And that's why I pointed out only particularly on Christianity and only particularly on Christ, that Christian foundations are in congruence, are in line with democracy and secularism. Thank you.
All right.
Can I talk?
Yes, Ashwin, one second. I just need to tell you guys that we are now moving into the unmoderated session and people will not need to raise their hands. But please remember, do not cut each other off and be respectful. Those are the only rules for the unmoderated session. Go ahead, Ashwin.
Akash, you're the first person that I'm hearing that Christianity is not about the Bible, but it's the word of Jesus Christ alone. But do you know that Abrahamic religions are backward compatible? That means for Islam, Christianity and the Jews, the book of the Jews are compatible. And for Christianity, the book of the Jews is compatible. I mean, in Bible, there is the Old Testament and the New Testament. And Bible is a collection of 63 books, which includes the Old Testament and the New Testament. So if you see that the Jesus Christ is just only one of the prophets, but there are many other prophets who came before him, and he was the last prophet of Christianity. That is what I wanted to say. Do you have anything to counter me?
Yes, Ashwin. Like Ashwin, that's where I would like to correct you about Christianity. Yeah, Jesus Christ was one of the prophet, and for Islam. But for the Christians, he's not a prophet. He's son of God. Like God, he's become God, becoming human for humanity's salvation. That's what Christianity believes. So when I said like Bible is not Christianity's integral part, I actually mean that, because Quran, by extent, every single word that is written in Quran is part of Islamic tradition. It's word of God. It's infallible. But Christianity is the only true thing that is infallible is Christ. And Christian Bible has been edited. Christian Bible has been translated. That's why they are allowed to translate. Islamic Quran is never allowed to be translated. It's only properly has to be read in Arabic and Arabic alone. If Bible was a central tenet of Christianity, they will never allow it to be translated and force other people to learn that language to understand Christianity. Because in translation, a lot of meaning is lost. I have read the Malayalam Bible. I have read the English Bible. So even then, there is a lot of translations which has been lost. Even from the original Aramaic Bible, most of the ideas and values completely opposite it appears in the more later translations. So that's why, and it was deliberate. The church did that on a deliberate basis because the words were not essential for Christianity. It was who Christ was and what he did and what he preached. That's what I said. Like it's literally, that's how the book of John starts. In the beginning, there was the word. And the word was with God, and the word was God, and the man became that word. That's how it started. Like Jesus was the word that became man, and to bring the salvation for all of humanity. That's what Christians believe. the prophetic argument, I understand. Judaism is all full of prophets and coming preaching of God. Islam, that's what Islam believes. Islam believes that Jesus is just another prophet who came and who was very good prophet, by the way. They also respect him, revere him a lot. They just don't give him the status of God. They believe that God can't become human because God is perfect and humans are imperfect by nature. But Christians contradict that. God literally became human to live among his people and die for his people. So there is that difference between Islam and Christianity.
Yeah, this is according to
Akash,
your
quick
interpretation.
correction. Yeah, can I? Okay, once again, guys. So Akash, I just have a quick correction. I think during your argument, you said that Bible is translated, Quran is not allowed to be translated. As far as I am aware, I don't think that is the case. Recitation of the Quran is encouraged only in the Arabic language because it is considered the most sacred character in the Islamic tradition. But there are so many translations and transliterations of the Quran available on the market on many online platforms today, but they are treated as explanations. So to say that it is not allowed for the Quran to be translated into any other language would be a little false.
Yeah, definitely. Allowed maybe not the right way. It's not very much promoted. Like Quran in its entirety needs to be read in Arabic. I believe that is very important for their religion. Like
Not read,
Quran,
but recited.
yeah, recited. Yeah, definitely, because it is done particularly so that the meaning doesn't get lost. Meaning has to be because in translations the meaning does get lost, and it's absolutely essential to capture the meaning in its true entire spirit. So only one language can capture the spirit of any fundamental writings. That's why they emphasize so much on Arabic. But Christianity, early Catholics used to do the same, but the Protestants basically allowed for the translations starting from the 15th centuries, because Protestants emphasized on that idea that Christ is more important than the word. But if you regarding Islam, it's not the case. I believe in, like I'm not believing, like I know that Quran is the fundamental tenet of like Islam. Quran is the word of God and it's infallible. That's what they believe. That's what they argue. But I'm just pointing out, like I was just pointing out that example to make my case that how much revered and how much to the words are revered by Islam in the Quran. That's what I was basically trying to convey. I'm not saying it's not allowed, just like many things are not allowed in Christianity, but or Islam, but that are still being promoted. But it's not promoted. It's not promoted that much. It's not very advisable to read any translation. It's always advised, if you truly want to turn to Allah, it's always advised to read it in the original form. Yeah, that's what I was pointing out. Yeah, you are not wrong in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think the key difference lies between those two words, read and recite. Recitation is absolutely promoted in Arabic and
Yeah.
emphasized in that
Yeah.
manner. But reading, on the other hand, is up
Yeah,
to the
definitely.
person.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Akash, first of all, you're talking only based on, you're talking as a Christian. In Christianity, Jesus is God. But as I told you, there are many denominations of Christianity, Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, and many other. And I have interacted with Jehovah's Witnesses, and they don't believe that Jesus Christ is God, but Jesus Christ was a man. So you're generalizing and you're saying that Jesus Christ is God, maybe according to your belief, I don't know. But I would again like to repeat that there are many denominations, and they all have different interpretations of the Bible because of different translations, and because the Bible itself was changed and many things. So, and one more question I want to ask you: what is Bible according to you, and where is the word of Jesus?
Okay.
Where is the word of Jesus in the sense which verse?
Okay.
Where is it preserved? How can we read the word of Jesus? How can we even know that he existed scientifically?
Oh, okay. Sure. Okay, so like Ashwin, the first point that you argued, like Jehovah's Witness, basically, I believe they believe that he's a man and he didn't resurrect physically; he resurrected only spiritually, and that's why I believe most of the Christian denominations don't see them in much high regard. And it's not, it is direct consequences of translations, and it is a direct consequence. As I was already pointing out, with translations, it can be interpreted in many different ways, and that ultimately leads to this ideological anarchy where nothing makes any sense and everyone is just interpreting on their own. I believe that's a big problem with Christianity. And you asked like what Bible means to me. I would say like Bible for the most part of it's written in the New Testament in particular. It's written in the form of historical narratives. So basically, the Mark, John, Luke, all these are the Gospels. So it forms only after the Old Testament. So these are the historical narratives. It's written in the form of history. Like if you read the historical traditional writing of the Greek during that point of time, they follow the same pattern. And you said, how do we know Jesus existed? So basically, that's why I want to point out that Jesus Christ is by far the most attested person in the history of humankind. Like 5 million scripts, manuscripts, Greek, Aramaic, Hebrew, written by not just Christian theologists, not just Christian sympathizers, but also pagan sympathizers, pagan historians, and the official historians of Romans. So like Jesus, I would say I'm speaking apart from Bible. I'm basically pointing out the historical facts. The historical academia basically believes that Jesus Christ existed because of all these manuscriptural evidences and the historical accounts of the Roman king during that point of time. And also they believe that something happened whether Jesus resurrected. They are not sure. They don't know. They don't believe that because it's not very logical to believe that. Something happened in the 33rd century AD, plus or minus 5 years, and people went crazy about him. And there were people just willing to die for him, and people were getting persecuted to be like promote his ideas. And that happened. Something happened. That's what the official history accounts for. And
where are his words recorded? I mean, where are his words recorded?
Yeah, words recorded. Yeah, words recorded. Words recorded. Like only according, like the only accorded words are found in the biblical scriptures and the early manuscripts of the, like that's mostly Christian manuscripts, but there are also pagan manuscripts. If you can do a quick Google search for that, there are manuscripts, particularly in the Greek and Aramaic language during the 1st and 2nd century AD, which are mostly available on the internet, I believe. And most of it are not in the Bible. For example, the Gospel of Thomas is not in the Bible because he believes some certain things which are not basically accepted by the church. That's why I say I don't put more emphasis on Bible as much. But they all believe and they all attest to things that they saw, and they all attest to the things that he preached, and they all attest to his nature. And I only believe that. Basically, my respect for Christ doesn't come from Bible. My respect for Christ comes from what happened in the first 2/3 centuries of the Christian history. Because what basically, the Christians were given the choice to either accept Roman emperor as their king or say Christ is king, and or to face execution. And 360,000 people chose to be fed to lions and then to just simply say that Roman emperor is their emperor. I believe this kind of devotion, this kind of acceptance, it's something I believe is really magical. I really appreciate what caused people to do that. Like, in fact, there is one beautiful story of this Bethlehem. It's a famous apostle of Christ. And this is recorded in the pagan histories, not in the Bible, not in the church history, pagan histories, where he was basically condemned for preaching Christianity, and he was getting skinned alive, from the head to toe. He was getting skinned alive, and he was again given the choice to just renounce Christ, and he just have to say Christ didn't exist. And he still was preaching gospel. I believe that something is really magical. And I believe something really beautiful. And I appreciate and I love Christ for what level of influence he had over those first generation Christians. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Just a
Just
second.
1 minute.
Just a second. I believe Manish was raising his hand earlier. Manish, I'd just like to inform you that this is a unmoderated part of the session, and you can just directly make your point once the speaker has finished making theirs.
Just give
Yes.
me a minute.
So
Can
like
I
I'll
go
just
ahead?
I just wanted to say that I feel that we are deviating from the core discussion a lot. We are like discussing the specifics of a particular religion, say Christianity, and what is more important, Jesus or the Bible, etc. But I mean, the entire logic is about the entire discussion is regarding their compatibility with secularism and democracy. These things exist today, not 600 they didn't exist like 1,000 years ago when these things originated. So I guess, I mean, it's my belief that we should like discuss how these religions are interacting with other religions or with nations to reach to a conclusion about the compatibility or incompatibility.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great
I
point,
think
Manish.
it's
Actually,
uh,
I'm in the same page as you are, but I would like to point out that we have come to this conclusion of by filtering out that other Abrahamic religions, and then that we are only in discussion that Christianity is in because Akash is making very good points on that. So that is why this discussion is heading this way. Second point is that excellent points, Akash and Ashwin, by the way. And second point is that Akash has very good. He's having a very good interpretation of his own version of Christianity. So I respect that version a lot as compared to what popular Christianity has been defined. But I think, in my view, it's only maybe 1% of people who are in the belief that only whatever has been there in many manuscripts and which are directly given by told by Jesus Christ himself, only those are true. And other than that, whatever interpretations are there, they can be ignored, or maybe say they are they're fallible at certain point of time. So I think he has an interpretation which uh, personal interpretation which goes very close to democracy or secularism. That is why only point is that. Other than that, in totality as a religion, it is not compatible. That's my point.
Yeah, I guess that's what Akash was wanting to say, that the ideas of Christ is compatible with democracy and secularism, but the Abrahamic religions are not. Am I right in saying that?
yeah.
Definitely,
See,
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
we are
So,
talking about religion. It has nothing to do with Christ, right?
yeah.
Because
Again,
the,
I would like
the
to.
topic is it's not compatible. Right? Yeah, let me finish. So, see, the problem is you understand it started with one religion and it started
Mhm.
branching out because people interpreted differently. The problem is when the interpretation goes wrong, right? Let's take you interpret it in a certain way. Now you are pissed off with me doing something else, which is not according to your interpretation, and try to kill me or suppress me, right? Now that's going to happen because all the things that are mentioned are non-falsifiable content, right? You cannot falsify any of them, right? You cannot scientifically disprove them. At the same time, you cannot prove them as well, right? Because you can keep making up stuffs. So now if I in this moment I'm thinking of creating a religion, I'll tell, okay, there is a God which is, in the form of a T-shape between Earth and Sun. Okay,
Mhm.
how can you disprove me? Right? Now I cannot, I cannot, so you basically cannot disprove me. So
Okay,
I
okay,
can
yeah.
form a religion out of that. I can
Mhm.
start imposing rules on that, certain rules. This is how the rule should be
Well,
in order for you to
look.
be in this religion. And whoever is not following that
Mhm.
should not live. If I
Okay.
put that rule, I can create a cult and start killing people out there. Right.
Oh,
So this is what is currently happening right now, and it's even corrupting people who are very educated. Right.
okay.
So your belief is good, right? But it's good as long as it stays within you.
Okay, Lokesh, I just
Yeah.
want to point out that, like, if we were to have any judicial troubles, if we were to have any legal troubles or contractual troubles in this country, what document do you subscribe to?
What do you mean?
Indian Constitution or the Indian Penal Code or the Criminal Procedure Code, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's not my personal interpretation of pacifism and love and violence. I'm not genuinely very much fan of love, like non-violence, all of that. But like, Christian, like that's what Christianity preaches. Like that's what literally said. That's what Bible is like. That's what
Yes,
Bible
yes,
preaches.
that is
Yeah.
that is a belief,
It's
right?
not
That's a
my
belief.
I'm not
Yeah.
misinterpreting in any ways. Like
See,
people
that's a
always say
belief.
Islam is
Let's
the religion of
just,
peace.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I
uh,
understand. That is a
Akash, I
belief. Let us keep it aside. Okay,
uh,
law is
mm,
different. Laws you can
yeah,
change. You can
yes,
vote and change the law,
yeah.
but you cannot vote and change the religion, right?
exactly. And
Whatever
Yeah,
that's
again,
there, let it
Lokesh,
stay
that's
there.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
yeah,
Lokesh pointed out like.
another thing,
Mm,
Akash, I also disagree with what you said. So you said like if we like commit a crime or if we have a disagreement, some legal battle, we always
mhm,
subscribe to the constitution. That is
mhm,
because we have a lot of pillars in place. We have the judiciary, where if we do
mhm,
not follow the if we go against the law or
mhm,
do something that is mentioned in the criminal code, then there
mhm,
is a provision for us in
mhm.
by which we can get punished.
Okay.
But by same logic, when we are discussing about Christianity or anything, saying that we should follow the law, like the initial whatever was said, like by Jesus or something, we
Mhm.
cannot put the same logic because if a
Well.
Christian can follow what Jesus says, there is no provision for him to get penalized.
Mhm.
So, and we
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
like all of
Again.
these was written like thousands
Uh,
of years ago, and that
okay.
this that can be very much divergent from what's happening today.
Definitely. I agree with Manish. That's why we don't emphasize much on words here. We emphasize on what Christ would
Yes,
do.
we
Like
should,
what
yeah,
he
we
would
should
do. That's why I emphasized on Christ.
exactly.
And Lokesh pointed out that Christ is different religion. No, like Christ is Christianity. Christianity is about Christ, like literally in the name itself.
I
Christianity is
think
about Christ.
we
So
should
again,
base that.
let me make my point. I will let you.
Sure.
Okay, so like the point I was trying to make when I was explaining that example of constitution here, using that example of constitution, I was pointing about what does the original scripture says. What does the original person says? Who has the authority? Who was established or deemed as the authority by the Christian theologians? What does he says? Well, he says this, and there is Vlad the Impaler who was literally impaling the entire towns, and it will be naive to say it was his personal interpretation of Christianity and that's why he was impaling. No, he was outright being disingenuous. Just like Nazis were being disingenuous. Christianity was, after a time, was exploited by political and economic machinery to further their causes. Just like any other institution when it grows beyond a certain stature. That's exactly what happened to Christianity. That's why I'm focusing simply on Christ. And we are also focusing on the ideologies here. We are not pointing out what individual interpretations of religions means. No, we are focusing on the Abrahamic religion. And I particularly focused on Christianity and more particularly Christ. That's why I was only saying that ideologically Christianity is in congruence with democracy and secularism because of said reasons that I already pointed out. And your argument is always not directly attacking what Christ did or preached. We always attack that argument by what people did in his name. That's not fair. And I'm simply pointing out that's not fair. That like what the fundamental tenet here is what does Christ preaches? And that's what I am only emphasizing here. And I will bet everything. There isn't a single thing that Jesus said or did that you can found in the theological scriptures of Christianity and the pagan scriptures. I'm asking you, the pagan historical scriptures of the Roman. That there isn't a single thing that Jesus said or did which you might have to say, well, that's objectionable or that's bad. That's only I'm emphasizing here. And we are only
See,
speaking of ideology here. Yeah.
if you start filtering a religion through certain mesh, every religion is compatible with democracy. Okay, you
I'm not
cannot.
filtering. I'm
You're
not filtering.
certainly
I'm only
picking, yes,
no.
because you're
I'm not
saying
filtering.
that. See, whatever the
Yeah.
see the definition of Christianity itself, you are saying it in your own definition, right? But
Yeah.
if you put your definition out there, it doesn't exist. Let's say if it is 1% of it, it is literally incompatible with the argument. Even if like 1%.
Like I get it. I understand more like I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian. Most of us are not. Most
It doesn't
Christians are not
matter.
Christians. I'm not a Christian. Nobody's Christian. By definition, it's impossible to become like Christ. That's what Christian means. So it's not theologically possible. But I'm
See,
not
Akash,
saying that. I'm only arguing on an ideological basis here.
See,
no,
the
see,
popular
Akash,
Ideology.
belief, what you're trying to say, doesn't exist in
When
the
we
modern
argue,
world.
let's say when we are arguing about capitalism and communism, we only argue about the fundamental ideas and how it plays out in the real life. Isn't it nice to forgive? Isn't it nice to love your neighbor? And isn't it isn't it nice to do others exactly how they want, how you would like to be treated? That's exactly what Jesus preaches, but that's not what Muhammad preaches. That's not what other religion
Then you would
preaches.
probably should find a different name for the religion. You cannot quote
No,
Christianity and then
that's literally, bro.
Guys,
That's literally what Christ preaches. Like, Bible, you
each other
just have
off.
to take the Bible. That's all you need to do. Yeah.
Akash,
Yeah.
you can make your point, but at least just let him complete. Like, I would really appreciate that if people just
Oh,
don't cut
definitely,
each other off.
definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
See, whatever it has existed in the history, it has no role today, right? Whatever happened, but it has dropped down to a certain extent today. What is the current state of the world today? We are discussing about how it is compatible to today's democracy. 2000 years ago, Indian constitution didn't exist. Democracy didn't exist. What people are doing in the name of Christianity, someone, Ashwin has quoted what has mentioned in the Bible or Quran. We have to, those are the things that we should debate on. It's partly true, but again, people are doing atrocities in the name of religion, and then you cannot go out and say they are not the part of the religion. They are part of your religion. Okay, now I'm going to say, okay, I'm a scientist. No, let me say, let's say if I'm go out there and say I attach myself to a certain religion, and then I also go out and say that, okay, this person who belongs to my religion is not doing according to religion. You cannot say that. If you are attaching yourself to a label, you are part of it.
Okay, like I would really like to agree with you on that. Like I can't just bend around that logic. That was very I will try to put it nicely here. Like let's just say you are an Indian citizen, and you say what is when we are Indian citizen, basically we are agreeing to the constitutional laws, constitutional ideas. We subscribe
we are not
our
agreeing to the
allegiance.
constitution. We are given the rights by the constitution. We obey the laws.
No, we subscribe to the preamble of.
We don't follow. It's not a religion. It's a set of rules that gives you the democratic rights.
Bro, again, let me complete. Yeah, I'll let you complete. Yeah. So, the point I was making is that we have to give our allegiance to our constitution to be a citizen of this country, right or not?
Yes.
Yes. So, if you then, after giving your allegiance to your constitution, if you then went on to, let's say, sell your enemy secrets to an enemy state or enemy, whichever country you want, then will that be right for me to say, well, he's not part of this constitution because he clearly broke his allegiance to the constitution?
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly what has happened. Christ literally preaches people to don't kill others, and forgive and have a loving and caring relationship with others. That's what he preached throughout his life. And then there is someone who comes and butchers people, who just floods the entire locality with blood. I can't see how they are on the same page.
I'm a traitor, but I'm an Indian. I'm still an Indian.
No. I was saying, how I can then denounce your allegiance. I can denounce you from our community.
You can denounce my allegiance, right? It's a nationality, but religion has a freedom. Everyone can. So I cannot claim. I have a passport. Let me tell you, I have a passport that says I'm an Indian, and Indian government cancels my passport and keeps my passport and says I'm not an Indian. Now I cannot claim as an Indian, but today, tomorrow, I can go and say I'm a Christian. No one is going to stop me.
No, again, that's the point. There are certain things that you have to follow to have to
that
be
is
a
the
part
point,
of
right?
belonging of
It is not a constitution. It is written. The constitution is a solid line. You cannot cross, but religion is not.
Religion is more as solid as it gets. Religion is the highest level of dogmatism that you will find anywhere. It's as dogmatic as it gets. It's as unquestionable as it gets. The constitution is should be
the very fact that you said it is unquestionable. It goes against
again when you
the fact that it is unquestionable, it shouldn't exist.
No, no. That's not. Yes. Do you believe rape is bad?
The aspiration of human beings is to question everything. That is how human race.
Do you believe rape is not bad?
So I have one thing. If we are saying something is unquestionable, that's definitely not democratic.
Okay, democratic.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, bro.
Guys, one after another. People, one after another.
Yeah, if you are saying that we cannot question the Bible, then
Yeah.
that inherently makes it undemocratic.
Again, I
Because
didn't say
democracy,
should not question the Bible. Again, that's not true. But again, bro, like the point is you are putting words in my mouth. Again, that's a circular argument that you can't say anything unquestionable in a democratic world.
okay,
You
okay,
can't
so
say
okay. So okay. So you don't believe that Bible or anything is not questionable.
no,
Okay, then
everything is questionable. Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay, then I take back that argument.
Okay, definitely. Okay, Manish, I get your argument, but there is this also this presupposition that everything is tolerated in democracy. Will you even
Yeah.
No,
tolerate
democracy is
intolerance
not
in
about
democracy? No,
tolerance.
no,
Democracy is
like
about equal representation. It's not about tolerance.
no, it's not
Yeah.
about equal representation. It's about equal participation, right for participation. No one is
Both of
promised
them.
equal
Both of them.
representation. No,
Human rights and human
definitely not.
duties both matter.
Definitely not. We are not equally represented by our cultures and customs in our community, or we are not equally
That is,
represented
those
by
are the
religious.
pitfalls of democracy. Those are pitfalls of democracy.
So basically, you are like Sandeep. I would like to hear argument about democracy fundamentally being equitous, like meaning egalitarian representation of every community that is there.
Democracy is the most perfect solution you have.
Yeah,
It is
definitely.
not the perfect
Nobody is
solution.
denying
It
that.
is the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
perfect solution you have. The religion is not.
yeah.
I guess
Okay,
what you
definitely.
mean is equal opportunity and not
Okay.
equal representation.
Yeah, it's about equal opportunity. It's not about equal representation. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was pointing out. I understood Sandeep's argument, but Sandeep, I am genuinely being honest here. I'm trying to understand your point. I'm saying that, yeah, religion as it has evolved over the years has become dogmatic
No.
institution, which
My
can
point
threaten.
is, my final point is, we
Yeah.
have a superior system in place.
Yeah.
Why don't we just let go of the past, which is incompatible with many things?
Okay.
I gave an example in the past. 45% of the Germans are non-religious, right?
I'm
So
not
why
very sure.
it doesn't matter. The point is we have a superior system in place. Sticking on to the past, which is
What
giving
is that
conflict.
superior system? Can you just point out? Like I just wanted the
superior
details of that
system
superior
is
system.
you're a part of the constitution, you're part of the democracy. What else? You're
Let
bringing
me-
your own
No
belief.
one is denying that. I'm not denouncing my Indian citizenship or Indian this allegiance to the constitution. I'm in for that. Like, how is my argument is not congruent with that superior system that you pointed out?
Okay, like I want to add something, Akash. So see, like I mean, this regarding the whole discussion, we had like two things. So one is like you've been pointing out, right, that whenever we think about Christianity, we should talk about the initial preachings or the preachings in the book, right? Because that is what it means.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and when I said, and when we came to that point that it cannot be questioned, and I said if it cannot be questioned, it's not democratic. Like that.
Yeah,
That was
definitely.
the premise, and that was the conclusion I was drawing. So I was saying, if we are saying whatever is written in Bible or whatever Jesus said a long time ago, and if that is unquestionable and that is what has to be followed, then that is definitely not compatible with democracy, because democracy means
Bro. Like,
even your
I understand.
No, I'm not drawing any conclusions. I'm just laying out a few possibilities.
Okay.
So that we can maybe choose one and further the discussion. So okay, so one argument is like whatever he said long time ago, that is infallible. That is, you just have to follow. You cannot question it, etc. And let's not even talk about questioning it. That's infallible. If we say it's infallible, you just have to follow it or something like that. That is definitely not democratic. Because if we say democracy, everything has to be questioned, even your constitution, all the laws, everything get amended. So the whole democratic process is evolving with time. And saying like, okay, something might not be relevant 100 years ago, but today something might be relevant. So like, let's say in US, a long time ago, like marijuana, everything was illegal, but recently they felt like it shouldn't be, and they modified that. So the constitution, the laws, everything changes with time. So if we say things have been changing, so if let's say Christianity, how it has been changing, if we say it cannot be changed, it's just what it was in the beginning and you have to follow it, then that's definitely democratic. If we believe it's changing, then instead of discussing what Jesus said 1,000 years ago or what is
Okay.
written in the Bible. We should instead focus on how it is today, because that is
Okay.
how democracies evolve and etc. Right? And
Okay, definitely.
by
Yeah.
discussing how it is today, we should see what's happening in the world, and we should be discussing that. So these are
Oh,
the two things that I have laid out, which I feel should be a fair assumption or like way of discussing.
okay, okay, definitely. But the one of the major assumptions that you made, like that I have some problem with is, like, there are certain things that Jesus said which are unquestionable. Again, things that Jesus said, you won't question. There isn't a single thing that you will find objectionable as long as you believe in the democratic and equality of human beings, as long as you love one another, as long as you don't want to kill other people,
We should
as
not
long
draw
as you don't want to hurt
if
other people. There isn't
no,
a
but
single thing. Just let me
okay,
complete.
yeah, fine.
Okay. So there isn't a single thing that you will find objectionable. Again, and when we say unquestionable, it's not about the letter of the word; it's about the spirit of the word. In fact, that the expression not focus on the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law comes from the Bible. Again, one of the legal borrowings that we took from Christianity. But that being said, again, that's what I again was pointing out. It's not about what Christ said thousands of years ago. It's always asking what would Christ do in this situation. If Christ were walking like it's about understanding Christ's nature and character. The only thing infallible in Christianity is the cross. That's what they believe. I'm not saying that. That's what they believe. It's the only thing infallible. It's love and his forgiveness. That's the only thing which is infallible. Every words, the theologians just go on discussions and debates for or forever, and they never cease. And that's what I was pointing out. There is no single word, there is no single ideas or coherent structures which Christianity has to stick on to. Christianity
Yes.
in general, when we think it that way, when we say church, we have to say what Christ would say. We basically allow for greater room of maneuverability to basically fit in to modern changing ideas and values. Again, there is one more thing that I would want to really like to point out. We have to change with the changing times. If something doesn't change with the changing times, then it is bad. Like that fundamental assumption is also very flawed in its nature, because I just want to ask you your personal opinion about it. Let's say in the next 10, 20 years, if incest becomes normalized, will you also want to be part of it, or will you want to be accept is as a norm? Just like it's becoming polyamory is becoming normalized. Just like pedophilia, they are tinkering with the idea of pedophilia here and there in the West. So if all these things are minor attracted person, that's the term. Changing things, again, democratic expression. Again, if you don't have any moral foundations, you just have to tolerate even the vilest of things which will come with the time. And that's why I always believe I don't tolerate everything. Tolerance in its purest form, after an extent, okay, tolerance of humanity, that's completely different thing. Tolerance and loving other, that's completely different thing. Tolerance of ideas is people, even ideas which basically goes against your conviction, is a matter of I believe cowardice. Especially again, because if you just look in the West, what is happening there, the ideas that has been there be propounding with regards to just like I mentioned, minor attracted person, that is basically getting normalized in the West. So I don't, that's where I basically put the line and say, well, no, not all majoritarian ideas. I can't find settled peace with that. So that's why I believe the Christ's ideas is important. That's why I believe certain moral foundations are necessary. That's why I believe certain foundational ideas which you need to hold regardless of what happens, regardless of what other people say, needs to be held true. Because if you are a rationalist person, I always point out this in this debate, like if you're a truly rationalist person, you can never believe that human beings are created equal, because that's not a rationalist claim. That's a moral axiom. And that's upon that axiom, whole of democratic tradition believes. If you're a rationalist person, which I assume you are, you can never say all human beings are evolving.
Democracy doesn't believe everybody is created equal.
Oh,
Democracy does believe. No, it
yeah,
is not.
democracy.
Of course,
No,
it is
bro,
not.
The
Yeah,
idea
yeah,
that
I believe.
I
everyone
just
has
want to point
one
out
vote.
again. I want to point out
Yeah, I
the
believe
American independence, American Declaration of Independence,
I'm
which
not
was
talking
basically
about
defined.
America. Okay, there are multiple
no,
democracies
one
The
in the
second, one
world.
Universal
second.
Declaration of Human Rights
Akash,
Guys,
I
basically
think you should
says
let
that
him
one
speak.
after another. Everybody
I was
has been,
speaking. I didn't
everybody's cutting
completed it.
everybody off.
Yeah. So basically, the human right expression, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which basically says all human beings are bestowed upon by, like, bestowed with certain individualistic right, is basically adhering to the American Declaration of Independence, which basically points out that all human beings are created equal and bestowed upon by their creator certain inalienable rights. Is basically subscribing to that Christian theological idea that all human beings are created equal. And that was basically led to the foundation of the concept of equality before law. It didn't come out of thin air. That's not how ideologies work. That's not how sociology work. And you have to sit here and pretend basically we have the foundations built upon, and we build all this wonderful institutional and infrastructure machinery, and then you are basically questioning the entire foundation, saying it is not democratic. Well, I can question everything. In the name of questioning everything, you're just basically pulling the rug out of your floor, and you will just fall face thrust. That's exactly what is happening. There are certain tenets which needs to be held unquestionable. I believe what Christ preached, I believe what Christian ideals was, has deeply laid the foundations of the modern democratic ideas. And that is evident from the American history. That is evident from the modern democratic traditions as well.
Okay, I'll have to agree with the later part of what Akash said, that the basic fact that everyone has a single vote clearly defines that there is equality and everything in democracy. But I have an issue with the first part that you pointed out, Akash, that there is nothing wrong with the ideas of Christ. Well, there is a little bit of issue. Christ was arrested and charged with treason. Everybody knows here. But for what reason was he arrested? He claimed to be the king of Jews. And by that, he clearly meant that he was the ruler of the region of Judea. Well, that's kind of trash. That's kind of a treason, and I'll say that kind of separatism is not an ideal to follow. If we are talking purely on a moral basis.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that's a good point. Like even I had a very problem with settling that with that point. But it's more of like most of the theologians that basically interpret it that way. Like he was a spiritual leader. Like when we have a king, we basically follow the king. He was like basically present himself as a shepherd in the biblical scriptures. Basically, we have to follow or be like him. It was basically him saying like be like him. That's what he meant by saying king of Jews, and which was basically misinterpreted by the Jews as treasonous and presented to the Roman emperor at that time, and that's basically led to the crucifixion. But Christ was not, yeah.
But that will kind of contradict with one of the statements Christ himself said, that give whatever is God's to gods and give whatever belongs to the kings. So that there he shows a clear differentiation of God and theology and king and the whole political structure.
Christ also specifies this ideological problem there before in the Bible when he says he's not he's not the king of this world, but he's king of the kingdom of heaven. He's not talking about the material world in that sense. It is very semantic idea. It's a very philosophical argument to argue about. There is no objective there, the objectivity there. But Christ was more like it's more than obvious that he was talking more about spiritual basis and his authority as a spiritual king and as a spiritual leader, which people can look up to and follow. I believe that's what. Yeah, that's what he preached.
Yeah, I would like to add the point there. See, now let's consider killing is crime. Person should not kill another person. Okay. Yeah. So this is unquestionable.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now take that, plug in the democracy. Current democracy. Only this point, no one can object. Okay. Now there will be a guy who does crime and claim you cannot kill me.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go to hell after I die and take the punishment there. Okay.
Okay.
So
yeah.
This way, it can happen, right? Very easy.
It can.
So now, this easily concludes it's not compatible, right? We can take ideas. See, we can take ideas from different places. Let's take group of ants working together. Okay, building a nest. Okay, we get inspired by that. We define some constitutional laws based on that, right? And it can change over time. That changes is possible only with democracy. But if you are putting some ideas which are unquestionable and you cannot change it,
okay,
that becomes a problem. That is never a democracy.
Definitely. But Lokesh, I just want to ask you, like, would you want to live in a world where people just basically come to the consensus that murder is bad, not bad?
again, it's democracy, right? If many people agree and they're okay with that, yes,
Okay,
that
okay,
is
okay.
democracy.
Okay. Again, that's
That is the
that's the
meaning of
problem.
democracy, right? See, I have problem.
No, that's
Okay,
not
with
the
that
meaning, but
feeling.
proceed. Yeah.
See, I am against murder. Okay, but majority of the people agree,
So basically, you're
right?
okay with
That
that.
doesn't mean
That
it's
is
Majority is
democracy.
democracy.
right. Yeah, might is
No,
right.
that
Yeah.
that
No,
means they
even
have.
today,
I do believe
there
that.
are many things that people do
Yeah,
that is wrong. Majority of the people do that is wrong. As I pointed
yeah,
out in my screen,
But
yeah.
see, but the question, but the thing is,
Yeah.
I can voice out. I should be
Mm-hmm.
allowed to voice it out. That is democracy, because
No,
I'm
definitely.
against
Not
it. But
only,
if I'm
not only
suppressed,
you should be allowed to voice it out. People should accept your opinion if they are, if it
Definitely.
is correct.
yeah,
But
yeah,
That is
like,
democracy. It is democracy is not like the majority always wins, right?
yeah. But the
Anju,
problem
by
is
that
that.
definition, right? If you're saying that everybody should be able to voice it and everybody should agree with everything that everybody is saying, that is impossible to have.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You're
you
talking
can't
about
That's why
tolerate
It is
I
not
intolerance.
it
guess
is
that. No,
always.
no. It is not that. It
Yeah,
is a way to, arrive at a consensus. The
Yes.
constitution is a consensus document. It is not a rule. It's something like we accept
No,
onto
I was
ourselves.
I was disagreeing with what you said about, like, not only should everybody be able to voice their opinions, but everybody should agree with it. That is a contradiction.
No. Correct. So I correct myself. Yeah.
Okay.
like I just have
See,
I guess
interjected
consensus,
that.
some census
No,
works on majority. Okay, that we have to agree. If I'm
again,
voting, right,
No,
there is.
majority is not always consensus. It is consensus is based on arguments, discussions, and debates, right? Like we are
Yes,
doing here.
see, no, yeah, of course. See, now let's say we have agreed upon the Lok Sabha election. This is how it should be structured, right? And we went ahead, started voting, and let's take there are two candidates, and one candidate won by one vote, right? So initially, now we have agreed to that rule. This is how it works. Now he rules for 5 years, but during these 5 years, the people who lost, the candidate who lost, right, the people who vote, they can make the voice out, right, and try to influence some of the people in this group, right, and create a totally different thing, different election strategy, right, and start doing the voting, right? So that is democracy.
No, that just
And
gives you a power. That doesn't mean that you impose everything that you like, right?
Sorry, how does it give power, right? See, we
That is
set the
power.
rules. We set the rules initially, right? And that rules can be changed if people are ready to voice out and make that change. And that should be allowed. Now, the people who voice out, they have been killed, then it is not democracy. Or if they are suppressed, it's not democracy.
Yeah,
democracy
agreed.
is basically this debate. Everyone here agrees that Christianity and Abrahamic religions does not go well with secularism and democracy, but will not shut someone who's saying against what the popular belief
it
is.
can inspire
Yeah,
certain ideas, but it is not at all
See,
compatible.
not only do we allow the other person to speak, but we agree with his ideas, right? I agree with Akash's ideas about Jesus Christ.
I mean,
Yeah, and
not
I disagree.
exactly agree, but
You
try
agree
to
with this?
understand.
You agree with this idea? I disagree with this idea, and we are both okay. We are still friends.
No.
Right?
See, that is being polite. That is, you are trying to equate being polite with democracy. That's not the case. If you don't agree with his ideas, then it means that the debate has not been successful, right?
No,
We have
it
to
can
discuss
continue,
and
right?
arrive.
See, that it can
That's
keep
all
going
right.
on, right? See, it can
Yeah,
keep going
but
on. But
in
you should not
Parliament,
tell
that
me
doesn't
don't
happen
do
that
that.
way, right?
Yeah, I mean, currently
In
we are not
Parliament,
that much democratic. Yes, of course.
yeah, exactly.
So Akash, basically what is happening is Jesus Christ was present 2000 years ago. He said some things and he no longer exists in this world, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So whatever he said, it cannot be changed unless he comes back to this world.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So when things cannot be changed, everyone for the rest of the time until doomsday has to agree with him,
Yeah,
or they
definitely.
can disagree with him.
Yeah, kind of. Like, I just want to point out, like, the murder example was that we were talking about when something completely deviated from that. Like, are you willing to live in a world where somehow the democratic traditions accept murder as a norm or rape as a norm, just
One
like
second,
it is
like,
from, or let's
I
say
think,
polygamy as a norm, or child
Akash,
marriages as a norm? Yeah.
I think you're completely deviating from. See, I'll tell you why. So you're
But,
saying that, let's say there's a democracy,
hmm,
and in that somehow majority feels that murder is acceptable.
okay.
So, I mean, morally, we all know we all have our conscience, and we
Like,
believe that yeah, we
what do
believe
you
it is
call that?
wrong.
Okay, yeah, believe again. It's a
Yeah,
matter of faith. I'm saying that it's an
I mean, yeah, but
unquestionable
if
faith.
a country goes ahead and says that we can murder, like, that is, I mean,
Is that
that
good?
would be democratic. If
Oh,
51%
yeah,
people
again,
vote
that's
and
why.
say murder is legal, then that is democratic. And let's say even today, we do execute people, right, for crimes. But how do we arrive at that? Like, we
Hmm,
all decided, we all chose our electives, representatives, which made a legislature, which
hmm,
defined that if someone does this, he can be executed.
hmm.
So, and if
Again,
someone
murder
does
is
a
different,
heinous
killing is
crime,
different. Yeah.
yeah,
Like, bro, like
I
there
know,
are
but
certain
see, but
definitional problems I have with that.
let me complete. Let me complete.
Okay, okay.
So what I'm saying is, it is a democratic process, right? So a majority of us gave elected our representatives, which went to the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, etc., who like defined that this is the legislature, and if someone does a heinous crime, then he can be executed. So
Yeah.
someone does a murder or a rape or something, like, okay, in those cases he can be executed. So in this case we have, so I mean, we are killing a person, and this is, we all have agreed that this is wrong, that's why we are killing him. But if in some other country, if 51%, like, the majority somehow decides that we can kill in these circumstances, so I mean, it will be democratic. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but it will be
Yeah.
democratic.
So like, again, that's what I'm saying. But I can't say, like, when again, like, there are certain
So,
definitional
see, let's
problems I
not
have
see
with that.
democracy as something like it's good or it's
Okay,
the
okay,
right
okay.
way to be.
So
It's
then
just a
I have problem
process.
with that. If democracy leads to killing innocent people, then I will denounce the democracy. If democracy
Okay,
leads to, if
fine. That
democracy leads to, please let me complete. If democracy leads
okay,
to child marriages, I will denounce democracy. Like, the
okay,
problem is that again, you made some definitional errors there. Like, there is a
okay,
difference between killing and murder.
okay.
Killing,
I got it. I get it. So, okay,
yeah,
you said,
yeah,
you made a statement that if you believe that if a democracy somehow arrives at the conclusion that murder is okay or rape is okay or something like that, you denounce it.
yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
great. Yeah, that's a great statement. But let's see democracy as a process and not like something, the solution to everything, or the way of
At least,
the will of the
a
good or
solution of
something
not
like that.
killing people. At least a solution to preserve physical integrity, I believe.
Yeah,
If the democracy can't assure, then I don't know. Like, I
I
can't,
mean,
like,
see, there
yeah.
is no perfect thing, right?
I don't
Democracy
think
is a
even
process.
religion can assure anything.
Yeah.
Like,
So
yeah, it
democracy
can.
is a
Yeah,
no,
technologically can,
let
because
me
all human
complete
beings
one.
are created in the image of God. So you can't kill God. You can't kill a soul of God. That's why all human beings are
Yeah,
valuable,
the
regardless of
fact
belief.
that I don't believe it, the religion becomes irrelevant.
Yeah, that's why, because that's why then your rationalist argument, you can use a
No,
certain
it's
set
not
of
about
words to
rationalism.
justify.
Let's say I'm a lunatic. I go out
Yeah,
there. You're saying that religion has a better solution or whatever it is if you want to
yeah,
live in a doomsday democracy. But the point
yeah,
is, the religion
yeah.
is not a solution. The first point.
Yeah.
Why not?
Again,
Like, I'm
Because
saying that, like, let me
because you're
complete. Yeah,
not giving a voice to everybody.
like, like, the religion doesn't give voice to everyone. That's the problem.
Of course, that's a problem.
Okay, okay, definitely, yeah. Like, again, the
so
point
okay,
is,
let's not see it as a problem or
oh,
something. Let's just say if everyone is not given a voice, that's not democratic. Let's just conclude it. Let's not say it's good or bad, or is it a
okay,
solution to all wrongdoings or something. Let's just
Yeah,
focus on the
that is
processes.
not
Democracy
democratic.
is a
Let's say, yeah,
process.
that is not democratic. Yes.
Yeah, democracy is just a process where people organize and the majority decides what's gonna happen. And then there are things where, like, I mean, everything is, I mean, let's not get into the whole process, but let's just see democracy as a process.
process, a process which with without any, like, end, or without any particular goal.
So there is
and
no
this is
end.
how
That's what he
yeah,
keeps saying.
definitely.
It's a
The thing
Again,
process.
is,
again, that's nihilistic view. I don't subscribe to that. Like that's what I'm pointing out, and that nihilistic view only leads to destruction.
would you
The
define
very fact
democracy?
that you are able to say that is because of democracy.
No, no,
Bro, yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Okay,
what I'm
okay.
pointing out.
Let me,
no,
Akash,
no.
let me give you an example. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's say we are in this world and the world is
Hmm.
about to end.
Okay.
There are 1 million men and 0
Mhm.
women,
Okay.
and there is one girl
Hmm.
who is 12 years old.
Okay.
Now, if the human civilization has to proceed and become prosperous, that girl needs to have a child.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, what will we do next?
Again, if you talk about a utilitarian or other rationalist argument, a rationalist person would say have as many offsprings with that woman as possible. But like again, Christian theology will differ because all human beings are created in the image of God, and it's a child. It's not something you can impregnate to meet your end, and it's a human being. It's a human soul, which is an end in itself. So that kind of argument basically puts the end out of the picture. It's not to achieve any end. You have to be moral regardless of what the end is. That's what Christianity preaches. So again, many people were mistaking about that democracy is without any ends. Democracy has its end. Democracy ultimately came as a result of having like a goal of having a prosperous, at least a stable society, which can ensure the physical integrity of every human being. That was the democratic motivation which resulted in the democratic ideals that we stand today. And if you believe otherwise, as a like it's as a shallow vacuum idea with no end of itself, you are being genuinely intellectually dishonest. I just want you to read the works of Locke, French Revolution, American Independence, whatever you want to read. You just have to look all these books, and you will understand they had a means, they had an end, and democracy was a means to an end.
I agree. Even the Gandhian democracy or Gandhian society had an end. That was anarchy. It is not the anarchy that we see. It's not the same anarchy that's in news. It's the anarchy where everyone has the moral intelligence to kind of stay in a society and make sure that everything works in an order. So the end goal of democracy is to get rid of democracy, because we all know democracy is not a perfect system.
Definitely, that's a good argument. This is what I was trying to point out when I was pointing out the nihilistic philosophy behind our speakers who just spoke. That if you genuinely believe there is no purpose to life, you are ultimately lead to a world which will lead to anarchy and destruction. But I don't believe that. And then we are talking simply because on ideology. I'm not proving or prophesizing. I'm just simply pointing out our ideological differences. I believe human beings are valuable regardless. I believe human beings are valuable if all people decide tomorrow murder was bad. I believe rape is bad even if all people agree, well, rape is okay. Because that's what foundations means. That's what moral foundations means. Tolerance is sometimes
The moral
to some degree.
foundations
that is
come
belief,
from your
that
own
is not democracy.
analysis. You
Yeah,
don't
again,
need
my
some
own analysis.
figure,
Yeah, I believe.
but
Again,
you're
we
quoting a
can't
figure.
Yeah, bro, like we can't
I'll
talk about anything without foundations.
No,
When
this
we
is,
learn
see,
about
that is
math,
belief.
when we learn
That is
about
belief.
math.
That is not democracy.
The
It's
morals
belief.
existed
see,
even
guys,
before
everybody.
Christ.
I'll make
When
one
we
point for everyone. I
okay,
mean, the thing
okay,
is,
okay.
Abrahamic religions, they have one concept called as God, which is the supreme entity, which
Yeah,
is way above us in terms of intelligence and moral values.
yeah,
So Abrahamic religions, I mean, they take the word of God. I mean, it's God is like a dictator for them. I mean, if you listen to the word of God, everything will be
Mhm.
perfect around you. That is their
yeah.
belief. But
Okay.
those who don't believe in God,
Hmm.
I mean, come up with some alternate system like democracy, basically, right?
Okay, yeah, that's like
No,
that exactly.
hold on. Akash, 1 second before you respond. But Ashwin, you are talking about practically all religions.
Yeah, but it can be all religions. It can be Abrahamic religions. I mean, in Hinduism, there are many gods.
Hinduism, it could be Judaism, whatever you call it.
Basically, I mean, will you listen to God or will you listen to other people? Is my question.
Will
I mean,
you
it depends on your belief.
listen to Lord Krishna or will you listen to other people? That's a fair question. Yes.
Yeah, that is the question.
Now,
So
Ashwin,
Akash is talking with respect to Christianity. I mean, God said
Yeah.
so many things. God came down as Jesus Christ according to him, and basically
No,
God gave a
I'm
word.
not a Christian.
Okay, something you're not a Christian, but you're talking as if he did that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, will you take the word of God or will you take the word of other people? It comes down to belief now.
Actually,
If
it's
you
a
don't
wonderful
believe in
question.
God, you take the word of other people and
Yeah,
yourself.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Ashwin, like, I really want to address this question because it was this same philosophical question which basically prompted me to study about religion in general. I was atheist my whole life, but I don't see myself as one because of this particular reason, and this is because of the answer to this question that I'm going to say. Like, the point is, like, we always say that we have to be rational, like being rational, being logical about things is an integral part of living in the modern world. We have to think about things in a critical sense, and where critical thinking and rational thinking is the foundations of in free speech. And again, free speech is an integral of democratic tradition. But I believe the fundamental problem with rational centrism is that you can always make rational arguments to justify the most horrendous things. That's exactly what Hitler did. At any particular point in time, there might be a good set of rational words spoken and prophesized in the perfect sense. You can justify even the horrendous of things. It only depends upon the intelligence of the speaker and how well he is able to relate to the listener. So rational thinking is not a good way to look about for moral foundations. That's why I've completely denounced rationality in moral ideas. And I believe morality spreads simply on undeterred faith and faith alone. That's what Christianity points about. That's what I was talking about the whole time. I believe, regardless of what happens, all human beings are valuable. I don't whether they.
You need both rationality and morality. You need both.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not arguing that. Like, I basically separated the world as two. Like, basically, there is this physical world, the world of physical sciences, and there is this metaphysical world involving our emotions, involving ideas, society, institutions, morals, etc. So, this physical world, we always need that rational thinking and critical thinking to explore and grow. But in this metaphysical world, we need more faith and foundational understanding to have a sense of stability upon which we can grow and thrive as a society. And I believe democracy cannot persist if you don't believe all human beings are inherently valuable, inherently special, inherently they are equal. And that comes from an undeterred faith in God. That is not a rational argument. That is not coming from evolutionary thesis. That only comes from when you believe that all human beings are created equal. If we take the genetic.
Akash, you sorry to interrupt, but can you tell me why you need to have a God to believe to have that?
Okay, again, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I always think that myself otherwise, but I am not pointing out God here. I'm just pointing about the axiom. I'm pointing about the moral axiom, which says that all human beings are created equal. It's a lie. It's not based on facts. It's not based on any rational thinking. I'm only pointing. I don't think about God itself. I only think about the idea that he preached. Again, that's what I was telling the whole idea. Like, it's not about Bible. It's not about.
Hold on. So, if suppose in the future we find that all human beings are not created equal, then you are saying it's fair to.
Yeah, no. We already found that. Our evolutionary knowledge tells us we are not all created equal. We are all have evolved differently. We all are on the different line of trajectory of evolutionary tree line. And there is no reason to believe all human beings are created equal. It's a lie, but we believe that lie. And that is foundational for democracy. And that only comes from religion. That only came from religion. And only came from Christianity.
If I say, instead of saying that everyone is equal, I just say, and you're saying that's a lie. Okay, let's be real. I just say everyone is not equal, but all the eligible, like everyone should have an equal representation in the governance of the country. Isn't that democracy? So see, you are not like you and me are different people, and some are financially better, some are financially bad, some are like there will be a lot of differences, but everyone gets one vote to choose their members of Lok Sabha, etc. Isn't a correct argument, and also how democracy has been working? Why do we even need a lie that everyone is equal? Why just we say everyone gets an equal representation? And
because Ashwin rightly pointed out. Yeah. Please
No,
continue.
I was just asking him to prove why you think people are not equal. But anyway, proceed, please.
Okay, yeah. Like Ashwin here pointed about conscience, like how we all have a moral conscience, why we couldn't kill people. Like I believe that stems from that moral foundation. If you don't fundamentally believe all human beings are created equal, and just basically, as you pointed out, we can just create a system where we are not created equal, but either way, we are just giving away rights. But that sense of fundamental idea of inequality will reflect in other aspects of society, when it comes to economics, when it comes to social bonding. And that is what happened in traditional Hindu societies. That's what lead to the caste hierarchies. That's what lead to the inequalities, fundamental inequalities, because you inherently see human beings as unequal. Again, one person asked me how we know that humans are not created equal, because that's genetics. Like on the genealogical line, some people are more closer to Neanderthals, some people are more closer to Australopithecus. So there is genealogical differences if we
No, but
go close enough.
still my question,
Akash,
that was me who asked the question. How does it prove that they are not equal?
Akash, if I may add to you what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Sorry?
Recently, if I may just add to what you're saying, and then you can continue.
Okay.
Yeah, recently I watched Paris Olympics, and coincidentally, all the peoples in the athletics, whether it was 100-meter racing or 400-meter racing, all were of an Afro descent. Is, why was it such, Saju? Was it because the evolution that those people had to go through to survive in those kind of dense forest, which Africa earlier was, made it into a condition that only the agile ones, kind of survive.
Survive.
And we see this even in the
Yeah, but
current society.
agreed, they can run better. But you have still not explained to me why you don't consider them equal.
I consider them
I'll
equal.
add
I
one
consider
thing.
them equal.
Let me give me a chance to add
I'm
one thing.
egalitarian.
People are born.
Just to prove.
Prince
People
was
are
saying
I'm
born.
egalitarian.
No, one
Please
second.
don't come after me.
People are
Okay.
born in poor families and people are born in rich families. That itself
Yeah.
shows that people are unequal.
Yeah.
Right?
No, how can you tell me how? Why do you think they are
It's
unequal?
obvious, because one won't even get access to proper food, clothing, and shelter. Another one born in the Ambani family will get billions of dollars. He can do whatever he wants. He can have a luxury car. He can have a private jet, and so on. That's proof of inequality. It's as simple as that.
Oh,
And
okay.
if
Like,
we look at the muscles of the tribal population in India itself, then they have a higher quantity of white and red muscle cells. That itself proves that they have more strength as compared to the people who are living in the plains. So humans are inherently
so
unequal.
like, okay, I think there is a little deviation from this argument. When theologically, when I say one human beings are equal, they means all human beings' life are worth equally. No one is more valuable than the other person on ideological basis, purely ideological basis. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying one person can fast. If definitely one person can fast, run fast, then it's good for him. Like he can run fast and he can win marathons, etc. But that doesn't mean people who can't run or he can't even walk are not valuable. That's what theology, Christianity basically say. All human beings are valuable, regardless. That's the equality that I was pointing out. It's not about our merit. It's not about how well we are endowed in our social setup. It's about regardless of where you're born, how you're born, whether you're crippled, whether you're tall, doesn't matter. All are valuable. That's, I believe, is a good tenet to believe. And I can't disagree with that. Yeah, I can't say, well, if the majority democratic tradition says, well, no, some people are more valuable than other. I can't subscribe to that idea. If I have to abandon democracy and for that sake, I will more than willing to do that, because I believe all human beings are equal. And I believe that's the most foundational idea. And I believe that idea needs a coherent moral structure, and it has to come from something as supernatural or as theoretically supernatural, as in the case of God. It cannot stand on loose air. It needs some moral foundation, a legacy. It needs some good spiritual backing, and I believe that comes from God.
Because you're a believer. If we as non-believers, we have to come up with something ourselves.
Yeah,
you are
definitely.
a believer.
Yeah, I'm with Ashwin on this. Yeah,
I agree with Akash here. like the ethics that are based on like theism, God, it
Samarth,
will be
can
like
you be a bit more
fundamentally
louder?
different.
I can't hear you. Yeah.
Sure. The ethics that are based on like theism or based on God, it will be in some way like fundamentally different that is based on a non-theistic view.
Okay.
And just to give an example, it has already been brought up in the past about how the founding fathers in America, when they said all human beings are created equal, what they meant was, as you said, Akash, that each person, each human being, he has the qualities of rationality, for example, which
Yeah,
merits
definitely.
like giving dignity.
Yeah.
We are giving dignity through like providing fundamental rights, that he has a right to life and liberty, for example. For every individual, since he possesses that rationality, we're giving him that the right. So when they said that one, this is what they meant, and not that every human being is like a carbon copy of the another. So human beings are fundamentally equal, but not like equal across all the matters. I think this is what they meant. So even the founding fathers, they recognize that some people are like more intelligent than others, some people are more braver than others, and they wanted to create a society where the more intelligent and the more brave people, they will ascend the ranks and become leaders of that society. And by allowing for that one, they did not in any way like contradict the earlier statement they made about human beings being equal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So the same thing, it can be like expressed in the Vedic view also. So
Okay.
when Veda talks about varnas, they talk about varnas and not jati. So jati is, this the arbitrary distinction of people, arbitrary, based on, let's say, occupation. So, for example, in Karnataka, like we have various castes based on occupation, and they fight each other for reservations. So, on a totally made up arbitrary distinction, there is conflict arising. What the Vedas intended to do, they talked about varnas was they categorized people according to their inclinations and abilities, which we all agree it is different across people. But then it says that all of the humans, they are originating from a common ancestor, from the body of God. Basically, is what they're saying, the Vedas. So that is the reason why all human beings should be given dignity. They possess this like innate qualities of rationality, for example, and they strive for greater morality. So this is common across all human beings, and this is
Okay.
the quality that gives them, according to the Vedas, like equality across all human beings. But
Okay.
again, it's not like equality across all spectrums. As I said, like it is a given fact that as people, like they differ in their physical and intellectual qualities, and based on that one, people will be categorized according to their varnas.
And
So you
people
can
are
see
not able
how.
to. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go on, Prince. Like people are not able to like comprehend what I'm saying.
Okay. Like.
Yeah. So
So you
basically,
can see like
and
there is such a lot of overlap between what the Vedic system says and what the founding fathers of USA intended to build as an ideal society.
Yeah.
So when we have this ideal conception of society, we will always fall short of that ideal conception. So in the US, like how like people who are more privileged than others, they want to hold on to their privilege through consolidating their position, and they want to prevent the lower people from coming up. So
and I
what is
like
true
to
of American society is true of every society, including Indian society, Hindu society.
Okay.
And I'd like to just take this opportunity and say that just because people will not able to understand the symbolism of the four varnas and how they are created from the ultimate being, they were not able to understand what the legs actually meant. The legs did not mean that they are untouchables, even though untouchable is a fifth varna which was added later. But still, some people associate Shudras to untouchables, even though Marathas, the highest of warriors, are a Shudra community. So the Shudras were made so just to kind of signify that these are the base of the whole civilization. These will walk, these will make sure that there's development and societal evolution in the whole of the Indian society specifically. So yeah, it was not discriminatory, the Varna system.
So it is only discriminatory in the sense that it argued for people with different inclinations and different abilities being given different posts.
Yeah.
And it is not discriminatory in the sense that it's going to deny the humanity or the dignity of an individual person. It doesn't do that because it when it says that all people they originate
Somewhat
from a
like
common ancestor,
uh,
it
yeah.
is like originating from the body of God basically.
Okay. Like I have a little bit of
So-
contention there. Like in the early Vedic society, I'm talking about the early Vedic period. Like I'm not sure. Like I'm not very much. I haven't read much about Hinduism, but I believe that I have read somewhere like during my UPSC preparation or something. Like the point was during the early Vedic period, certain classes of people were not allowed in the Gram Sabhas, like Sabha, where basically the Mahajanpadas, I guess you're aware of. So they basically had this republican kind of system where people come together and had democratic discourse to basically settle ideas and etc. But there is certain peak sect of people who were not allowed in that Gram Sabha. I mean Sabhas, it was called Sabhas, and even women were not allowed in that Sabhas. And I also argue that in the early form of Hinduism, that I believe that I understand the distinction between Varna and Jati. I do understand it's based on meritocracy, but still, in the early phases of Hinduism in the 4th century BC, which was the time when Buddha and Jainism rise. So basically, in that time, the Buddhist and Jainism main point of contention basically revolved around how the Brahmins have monopolized the power and authority in the Hindu theological structure. And that was that was happening. That's the foundational idea why Buddhism
it is
basically
because
was a
of
big
the
critique.
British.
British. Lane, it's
Yes.
4th century BC, bro. Like 4th century BC.
4th century BC.
Yeah, like a Buddhism. Like I'm not. I'm Buddha. I'm invoking early Buddhist traditions there. Buddhism was very much of a critique of Brahmanical ideas and Brahmanical. They were challenging the Brahmanical authority of Hinduism there. And the reason why Buddhism spread during those early phases was primarily because the Shudras. I'm not sure. I think it was Vaishyas. Yeah, it was Vaishyas who were feeling emasculated, who were feeling being left out and excluded out of the Hindu structure. That what basically led them to attract themselves into the Buddhism. And Buddhism's rise was primarily based as kind of a revolt against this Brahmanical authority which was present in Hinduism. Like I'm not very much sure about that. I'm more than willing to change my mind on that. That's what I have learned. And
See,
Buddhism
that's
and
the basic
Jainism
problem,
both have.
right?
Yeah, you're
How you
mostly
can
right
interpret
on
the
I
text,
that.
agree to
right?
like what you said
Now,
to
if
an
you
extent,
see
Akash.
black slavery,
Yeah.
what people were thinking is like getting them as slaves. Basically, these Christians believe they are saving them, right? And they have started
No.
quoting the content in the Bible,
No.
right? So they interpreted it incorrectly.
No, like
That's-
it's not like interpretation, bro. Like the point I was making is like here Hinduism. Like okay, you can
No, if you
go
go
there.
to
I'm not
the
saying that.
black slavery sign, and if you
Mhm.
go and have a conversation with the white guy who has kept black slaves, he will just open the Bible and show you. See, there, I'm doing what's told in the Bible.
No, like
Yeah,
What you
Akash,
know?
it will be the same.
bro, like slavery. Like this is was one of the
Okay.
more reasons why Catholics and Protestants split off. Like Protestants were not in support of
Yes,
slavery because it was more
yes.
than
See,
obvious.
you see, their democracy work. You
How?
understanding?
Yeah.
Now they are not agreeing, right? So now there will be so many people who have died before this protest time separated out.
Yeah.
Right. But if there was democracy in place, they'd be
Well, there
freely
was,
allowed to
it was
form
the
a
will of
new religion.
majority. It was the will of majority that the colonialism happened. When colonialism was happening, the British were democratic.
See, right now,
when the
today,
Belgium
today,
Inquisition was that, yeah.
let's not go. Today, if I want to start my own religion, I can very well go ahead and do it, right?
Like
Nobody can kill me.
State religion of UK is still Christianity.
Yeah, no, nobody can kill me, right? Yes, people can voice out. That's again, it's okay, it's democracy. But if that is suppressed, and if you are threatened to death, that is no more democracy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why I say all human beings are created equal. All human beings are valuable. And if you are only a rationalist,
yeah, I think these religions, we should just keep it aside, have it as a personal belief. That's it. We can get inspired to use some things in our democratic society, but that itself should not be primarily focused here. It's not compatible. It's totally different things.
like
You can get even inspired to form new laws from some animals also, animals' behavior also. You are getting the point, right?
Akash, I have one point for you. I have shared my screen. Here are some words of Jesus Christ with respect to atheists. I mean, he's putting atheists below, theists, below the believers of God. I mean, he's distinguishing them and he's placing them below. If you can see my screen. John 3:16.
And it's not Jesus, it's John.
Yeah, again,
See, I also wanted. I also tell you one thing. Jesus is a Jew.
I was just letting
He's
him
not a
complete.
Christian.
It's not Jesus.
See, Jesus is
John
Jew.
was another.
Wait, what is the difference now? Wait,
Because
John
the point
telling
is
the words of
it's-
Jesus, right?
Ashwin, that was my whole point. That's why I say, like, Islam believes in Quran. I don't believe in Bible. I don't believe in the words of Bible. I don't as much faith in them. I believe.
See,
like,
that's what
would
now.
Christ say?
Now, problem is which is the
can
correct
only
word.
understand. Like, see,
No,
I
how
am
do you
not
confirm?
emphasizing on words here. I'm emphasizing about the spirit of his law. I'm not emphasizing the letter of the law, spirit of the law. That basically allows for a greater maneuverability to change and understand the changing dimensions and changing dynamics of the world. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Again, it's maybe only read John, right? What was written by John? What about Thomas? Right.
Like, again,
so see, you are just believing whatever they have written is correct. It's not like one sentence in a book is correct. The entire book is correct.
How
do you confirm
that's
that?
not what I said. Bro, you're mistaking
See,
my argument.
I have seen this guy. What is that guy? The Islamic guy. Now he takes one particular line and try to correlate with the scientific evidence and say everything other things are correct.
Zakir Naik.
Right? It's just belief.
That's a bad argument. Definitely. That's a bad argument.
Again, we are doing the same, right? So
no, I'm not doing that same. You are misunderstanding me. That's what I'm saying. Let me complete this. Like, when I said the biblical arguments are just a pathway that lead to understand you to Christ. Like, you understand the nature of Christ. That's what Christianity's whole idea is, to understand Christ.
See,
the only thing which is
again,
fallible.
See, that's what you believe. Christ is there. What if Christ is not there?
Christ is proven, bro. Like, historically, he's the I already
How
pointed out that.
How you are proving? No, it's not.
Like,
See,
there are several
how do you know
authors.
Napoleon existed? How do you know John the Ark existed? Historical
Yes,
narrative.
see.
You can't see, you can't prove. You just believe in the historical narrative of the credible
Yes, we
eyewitnesses
just
and the
believe them
historical
as stories. No, we just believe them as historical stories. We don't believe them as
anything before the
actual
photographic
facts.
era. So you don't believe in everything. So you don't believe in history.
No, we just have them as evidence. If someone comes up with a new evidence that disproves that, I am okay to discard that belief.
No, see, okay, I definitely agree with
See,
you on
what
that. As of now, what the historical evidence say,
you
that's
are
what
in
I'm
your
saying.
room, right? No, you are in your room. Now I tell you, there is a magical dragon.
There are
Can you see?
non-pagan.
There is a magical dragon. Now you tell me where it is. I cannot see. I'm telling you, no, you cannot see that. It's invisible.
Again, bro,
okay, again,
that's not
I can I can keep going on like this, and you can never falsify
that's
me.
not how you do history. That's not how you represent history. You're being intellectually dishonest there. That's not how history works. History is done by and attested by different people.
Histories are not facts.
No, wait. There is something called as scientific community.
Jesus
So we
existed
can't
or
have a
not is
conversation at all
irrelevant.
then. Basically, all our conversation rests on basic historical ideas. If we don't see history as facts, then all we are doing is subjective interpretation of history. Then we can't have any discussion at all then. Because history is not fact. Then the only thing that matters is present. Then we only think that present is like we are here and that's all we can talk about.
People, there is something called as scientific community. If they accept
scientific community.
our this thing, what we read in schools and colleges, it is based on what they accept, what the
Yeah,
scientific
definitely.
community accepts as
Definitely,
facts.
definitely. Yeah.
And by the way, I mean, when you go down history, as you go
Yeah.
older and older, I mean, there is lesser and lesser proof, and their belief also goes down. I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
the existence of, you compare the
Yeah,
existence
but
of Jesus Christ and Prophet Muhammad. There is more solid proof of existence of Prophet Muhammad compared to Jesus Christ. It's not
No
0 or
problem.
1. By the way, it's
Like,
not
well,
0 or 1.
technically
It's
like
there is
again,
fuzzy.
no
that's
proof
where I
of
have contentions
prophet
there. Like the
existing.
problem. Okay, Prince. Yeah. Carry on. Yeah. Okay.
There is no proof of even Mecca existing. There are several ideas that Mecca is not the holiest city of the said religion. It is
Yeah.
Petra, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Man,
Like,
that
yeah,
is
more like
interpretation. That is
history can
interpretation.
never be proven. History is only accounted for. History is accounted, and we only take
Exactly.
history for history
It's
only accounted
accounted.
for.
It's not 0
Yeah.
or 1. I mean,
Yeah, definitely,
even the
definitely.
Holocaust. You go
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
even Hitler's existence. It is more
Yeah, you
certain
can
than
tell,
Prophet
but
Muhammad's existence.
there is one video of this Richard Dawkins that I saw, where in his book, I hope you have read The God Delusion, where he points out like he basically flouts with the idea of challenging Christ's existence, and he openly admits in live camera how he was wrong about that. But Christ existed. He doesn't believe in the miracles. He doesn't believe in resurrection, but he genuinely believed Christ existed. And there is enough
And there
historical
is
evidences and historians,
See,
non-religious historians
Guys, why are
accounting for
we
that.
discussing if Jesus existed or not? It's irrelevant. If he
It is
existed or not,
completely relevant,
it's
man,
really
because it's the
irrelevant.
basis. It is basis. It's the basis of Christianity, and Christianity is a part of Abrahamic religion. So his words and other things. I mean, if you're relating to
See, that's
he
what
democracy,
believes
now
the fact. See, he
it's a
believes the fact that he existed, and whatever he said is the basis of Christianity is what matters.
see, that's
You
what
cannot
it's a
prove it.
belief.
He
It's a
existed.
belief.
He cannot prove it.
Exactly.
He
Doesn't
didn't
exist.
exist.
Exactly,
No one can
exactly.
prove it. He existed or not.
Yeah,
The fact that people
definitely.
what
I
believe
agree on
today
that.
is what matters.
Yeah, we all believe what ideas we have inherited from the
No,
past.
you
We
don't.
don't
We
live
don't
in a
have to
vacuum.
fight if Jesus existed or not. Do we
Yeah.
have? If we want to debate something, do we have to consider that whatever he said is relevant or not? If it is relevant, is it only relevant because he said it? Don't we have our own minds to think about it? That's what I'm
Wow.
trying to say.
Beautifully put it. Like, I can't put it more clearly. Like, yeah, again, that's what I was only focusing about. I was only focusing about the ideology. I was not focusing about the individual. Even when I went on with the Christ idea, I was particularly focusing about what he preached. I believe the ideas that he preached is omniscient. Like, it's always going to be beautiful, regardless of where you come from.
okay,
Regardless of
Akash,
what
can
you
you
do.
can you do us a favor? Can you collect all the whatever he said? Can you put it in a document and can you share it with us?
Definitely. I will do it by tomorrow in the group. Yeah.
Okay, then that is better.
We already have such a
Definitely.
Then
document.
if we find something,
wait.
If we find something that we think is not right, then we will debate with you.
More than willing to. Yeah, more than willing to. Yeah, more than.
Right.
I'll just bring up one quotation. It's like
So, Samarth, can you be
purportedly
a bit
real
more
incident.
louder? I can't hear you yet.
Like it's like a purportedly real incident that took place, allegedly happened. Like when Jesus walked in the marketplace, he was disgusted by the blatant commercial aspects.
Yeah.
And he said, like, go away, you vipers. Something he said like that.
Yeah. It
this
happens in the
particular
temple. It happens in the temple. Yeah.
So
Yeah, actually,
this particular
basically,
incident,
Christ was objecting to the commercialization of religion there. Like the Pharisees of their times, the religious leaders of their times were basically using the commercial enterprise in the religious sanctuary. And that's why he was basically calling them as thieves and brood of thieves, and to get away from his father's resting place, which is the temple here. He's basically calling himself son of God there. So that's what basically he was conveying. He was against the commercialization of religion there.
right? No, so this particular interpretation that you have, many Christians, like over the centuries, they have interpreted it differently. Some have interpreted it as like arguing for socialism. They have done that. Arguing against capitalism and for socialism. They have done
Definitely.
that. And then other people, they have argued for progressive taxation.
I believe
And
that. I
yet,
believe in progressive
other
taxation.
people, sure. And then there are many capitalists, like more conservative, right-leaning people in America who believe that all that this incident shows is that you do not want to engage in financial fraud because that is like a sin. That is all it shows.
Yeah.
So, like reasonable people, they have disagreed over this particular incident, over how to interpret this one. So you believe that this is like advocating like a fair economic system and progressive taxation, but some other person, can interpret this situation as calling for some other economic systems, and
Yeah.
there is where like reasonable people, they will agree to disagree.
Like again,
So
the devil, detail, like the devil is in the details again. Yeah. The point is like most of us, like I have read, like I don't think most of the people here have read the Bible. Like it becomes more than obvious what he's preaching there when we read it in the wider context. That's why I never like take words out of granted, and that's why I don't believe words that much. It's about the understanding about the spirit. And when say some people using it as an excuse to basically calling for socialism, I believe that again is being intellectually dishonest there, because socialism essentially means a centralized system where everyone just, there is no idea of private property there. Everything is just under a centralized state's control. And in that kind of economic system, generosity is compelled. That's not what Christ preaches. Christ basically accepts and acknowledges the idea of private property, and then he preaches people to give away to the poor. It is voluntary generosity. It's not compelled generosity. And that we can only understand when we read in the wider context. I believe like people have always used Bible. Like Bible is the most misused text of all time. I genuinely believe that. We can always take words out of context and narrative and just use it to further our narrative.
Again, they have the freedom to do it. Everybody have the freedom to do it. What I'm trying to say is, why you're trying to defend something. Everybody have, hey, I can interpret the constitution in a different way. I have the freedom to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not denying. Like I'm just pointing out the facts. I'm just pointing out.
You do not have the right to change the constitution, man.
No, like, I'm not saying I'm trying to change the constitution. Of course, it can
Bible
be amended.
Has been changed as well. Bible has been changed as well.
The constitution can also be amended. It has been amended several times. It's been amended every single day as we speak today. It doesn't mean that constitution cannot be changed. It is always it's always been updated.
I mean, a common man cannot change it directly. The way Bible has been changed.
It's a very long chain that we can discuss about how voting system works. But again, it's the pitfalls of democracy comes in, and it's a very big thing, right?
Yeah, that's
there are some things that there are nothing solid is there. That's the fact is democracy is the least evil thing that we can choose to. That's the fact. You may say there are some things like, let's say when you compare to democracy like India and so-called democracy China, it's not a democracy as such, but China has done very well for itself. But we cannot take it out of the context that okay, China is better than democracies of the world. No, it is not. So it's all about like they have it's certain case, that certain point, yes, there are certain kingdoms in the history of every part of the world. The kingdom itself, which is not a democracy, it's ruled by a king, has had better days than a democracy today, right? So but for the current situation, the population that we have, democracy is the closest thing that we can get. So it gives you a chance. Like tomorrow, if you decide, okay, I want to become the Prime Minister of India, there is at least 1% chance, right? I'm not saying you can do it, but at least there is a remote chance that you can do it. But if you are like go back like 2000 years ago, there is no chance that you can become a king, right? So it's about.
Well, it is possible.
Yeah, there is a better system we can have.
It is possible. Yes, it is possible.
It is still theoretically possible. Yeah.
Sandeep, there is a better thing that we can do. We can have referendum for everything. Just like they have in Switzerland, you can have referendum for everything. Like helmet rule. Helmet rule. 99.99% of the people don't wear helmet. Don't want to wear helmet in India.
Again, I tell you, when it comes to helmet, let's people to decide.
Yeah, let people decide. So you should scrap the rule, right? There should be no compulsory helmet rule because it won't affect others.
There should not be, because it's their head. They want to break it, they can break it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's again not democracy.
When we don't use helmets, we are more prone to be injured.
Representatives who brought in the rule, right? The helmet rule.
No,
I don't think they bought it. It's like a habitual thing that come into place, and then it becomes popular, and then they enforce it. It's not like, I know it's not like willingly they did something like that.
We do not have a good representation. I mean, we do not have 100% representation in the laws that members of parliament.
I think we have a coming debate about Indian democracy, I guess.
Yeah, the
It
good
is
points
I
degrading.
have a
will
couple
come handy there.
questions for you guys.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so like, do you guys believe that? Okay, we are talking about Abrahamic religions in specific. So all three, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Do you believe they have evolved
Yes.
from their point
Islam,
of origin?
Islam definitely not. Islam hasn't
Islam not,
evolved.
Christianity yes. Judaism irrelevant. Like, Judaism doesn't have much of a theological influence in the world. Christianity has evolved. Christianity will evolve, but Islam won't.
Islam
I
won't
think
evolve.
it evolved in
Christianity
there was
haven't
several
evolved. The
attempts.
constitutions that Christianity thrived evolved. Okay, the culture has shifted
No.
towards a constitution.
Okay, Rose, what was your point?
Okay, Indian
Okay, the
Islam
point
has
I
was
can
not
like
give you an
evolved, but
examples where the countries, the
the most
Christianity is
evolved form
abysmal.
of. Okay, so given the most evolved form of Abrahamic religions that we see today,
Mhm.
and the kind of democracy and secularism we experience today, especially in
Yeah.
India, right? Now tell me, are they compatible or not?
No.
Yes or no? By
No.
no
No,
means.
complete no.
No.
Christianity is
See,
compatible with the
It's a no.
democratic and secularistic
See,
traditions.
Your
not
definition of
the
Christianity,
present
Akash. Only your
context.
definition of
see,
Christianity.
in
Not
Yeah,
not
my
Current
others.
definition, it's not
status of
my definition.
Christianity.
I'm just pointing out what Christ preached and did. Like, it's not, I am not
Okay,
preaching
okay.
anything.
Oh my
I
God.
guess
you
what
see,
Let's
Rose is
not
saying
go back.
is the present
Guys,
context.
let's not go back there.
no, I
Okay,
am,
okay, okay.
I see, in Pakistan
She's
it's
Yeah.
trying to
exposed.
wrap up things, guys. Let's finish it off.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very late. Yeah, very, very late.
If you can, guys, if you can see my screen, I have clearly pointed out
Yeah.
what all Abrahamic
Points
religions
against,
are against.
yeah, points against
Points
Christianity.
against.
I had contentions. Yeah. Like, you
Hmm.
already pointed out, like, I had contentions. Basically, I
No.
don't, like, no divorce. Basically, Christ says you shouldn't divorce. It's a moral proposition that he's making, that, and I believe that's a good proposition to live by. And
Then it's
secondly,
incompatible.
Just to add,
That one point is good enough to shut off the
no,
argument.
again, he doesn't compel people to do that. He doesn't
No, no,
compel
no,
It
people
doesn't
to
no, no.
do
matter if he
anything.
compels it or not. Yeah, no one.
Yeah, that
Religion cannot
matters
compel anybody to
because
do anything.
that matters a lot, because prophet actually
Jesus is
compelled
not
people to
putting.
get converted.
No
I'll
religion
say,
puts a gun to your head and say, "Okay, you have to do it." No, nothing does like that.
Akash,
It's a
I'll
book.
Every
say
religion
Someone
does
any,
wrote
that.
it
Like,
at some
just
point
like
in history.
Okay,
what about,
okay,
like, see,
okay, guys, one after another.
let me play.
Akash,
I
I'll
was just
say
pointing out
any
again.
word out
I
of
personally have an objection with divorce. I personally have a moral objection with divorce. Set that aside. And the next point: God killed firstborns of Egyptians for enslaving Jews. And I like Ashwin, you are getting very picky there, because that is the same argument which can be used against Islam, which can be used against Judaism, and you just simply put it simply because for the sake of having 3 points. Because in the Old Testament, that was the whole point. God was very vengeful. God was very angry, and God. That's how he expressed his anger. And Christianity basically preaches that God was so loving and forgiving, he was willing to die for his people, and that's the Christian definition. So that point doesn't make much sense there. Again, no suicide. Again, that's a good thing, I believe, because all human beings are valuable, regardless of how bad our situations are. There is always hope, and I believe that's a good thing to believe by. And
Akash,
I don't see how that's a contentious thing. I
you
believe
know,
that
I
Alright.
was suffering, Akash, I was
on the
suffering from kidney stones. The pain was so
Okay.
bad, I felt like committing
Okay.
suicide for 2
Yeah,
days.
I
I mean,
hope, yeah, again, yeah. That's why
if your
emotional
situation is
flickers,
very bad,
suicidal
I mean, I
tendencies
should
are
be
just
allowed to commit
emotions.
suicide. What if I don't
Yeah.
have money? What if I'm suffering from pain? I don't want to die hungry, but I should die immediately. It is my choice.
and
Yeah,
just to
definitely.
add to the force
Choice,
part,
compulsion, like,
See,
I'll
all
say,
these
I'll
no,
say,
all these 3 points, you go find people, voice out, get the law changed. You are in democracy. You
like,
at
bro,
the same time, if you are, let me finish. And
yeah,
if you do the voice out, okay,
yeah.
form the group, I kill all of you, it is not democracy.
That's not Christ never advised anyone to kill anyone, Lokesh. That's being intellectually
No,
very,
I
very
am not
dishonest
following
there.
Christ. No,
Yeah,
I'm not
okay. You
telling
don't.
you. See,
No, I
you
know.
are there.
Like, how can I, when I follow Christ? If I am following Christ, I can't kill anyone. Like, Christ literally died for other people. He was
You
literally
cannot kill
forgiving his
yourself
enemies even
also.
unto death.
You
Like,
cannot kill
see,
yourself also. That is the problem. No,
yeah,
no
See, that's
suicide.
fine, right? You
yeah,
don't, you
because
follow Christ. You follow Christ. I am okay with
so
that.
okay,
You are
yeah.
following Christ. I am not okay with that. And
Like,
I can
if
kill you. Then it
okay,
is not
I'm
democracy.
comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that. Christ was okay with that too. Even Christ was okay with people killing him, literally killing him and nailing him into the cross. He was forgiving them unto that moment. I'm just admiring
No,
their
see,
personality and character.
leave
I believe
the
that's the level of
Christ.
tolerance we need to have in a society to thrive. I
So
believe
if you
that's
want
the
to
Leave
admire,
fundamental of all
Christ. Leave
if you
the
want to
democratic.
admire
Coming back to
characters,
the same topic
there
over
are
and over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, basically.
I guess the question Rose
The
asked.
problem is we can't have a consensus here because the
Okay,
fundamental tenets we don't agree on because we
Okay,
don't.
how many of you agree?
The philosophy.
How many of you agree that there should be divorce? Divorce should be allowed, and how many of you
Guys,
agree
we
that
are
suicide
going
should be
I
allowed?
believe
into
divorce
tangent.
should be allowed.
That's
We
a
are going to go
completely
into
different
another topic.
debate. That's a completely, that's a 3 hour debate in itself.
Let's not
that's
go
it.
there. We can
I
have that
genuinely believe.
as
I
a
believe divorce should
different
be
debate.
allowed. I believe.
We can
I
have
believe
that as
in
a different topic for debate, for sure. Good topic.
Okay.
Not right now.
Okay. Okay.
And okay, points against Islam. Anybody disagrees with these?
No.
I will not say a word against that. I love my life.
Okay.
Yeah. Same here.
You're scared of
guys,
Muslims.
the
Yeah,
bottom line
definitely.
is, I think somewhere everyone, not pointing out to one specific Abrahamic religion, we agree that they are incompatible, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
In the present context, yes.
Yeah, obviously in the present context and only in the present context. So, what do you think is a balanced approach?
I think
Should it
religion should
be
stay.
even
I
balanced?
think
Why
no.
balanced in
I'm
the first
telling
place?
should.
Stop
I
people
mean, I
from
think
practicing these religions.
no, religion should not get involved in all this. It should stay where it's supposed to stay.
Exactly. So,
Yeah,
Let
like
it serve people. Let it. Yeah.
Constitution triumphs
again,
religion.
Again, that's what
Yeah.
Christ preached. Render into things that are Caesar and render into things that are God.
See,
Separation of state and
constitution get
state.
involved in religions because they
Yeah.
are fighting against each other. So there should be a law to protect them, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no
Yeah,
need.
that is why
So
it
they are
is
staying
getting
within
involved.
the four walls. Yeah. So you're in a church and you're doing whatever you're doing within the four walls of
Our
the church.
constitution
Fine.
interferes with religion not because they are fighting with each other. Because for that, major constitution, overall
we
constitutional
are not
provisions are
sure.
already.
No,
Lokesh,
we
like,
are.
Constitution is involving with the religion because children are getting married.
Yeah, definitely. Like major, like already existing general constitutional provisions are more than relevant to address those issues. The only reason we have a nuanced form of
But they are not.
secularism where the
They're
states
not
interfere.
stopping. They're not stopping the good things. If you say, okay,
Yeah.
I believe in all these moral grounds, I'm going to believe on this. I don't believe in divorce. The
Yeah.
constitution will not force you to divorce
Yeah, definitely.
unless the other partner wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Rose,
Like,
why a balanced approach? I was about to ask you, why should it be balanced and not one-sided?
Okay, here's the thing. You can't stop people from doing what they want unless
Definitely,
they are harming somebody else, right?
Yeah, but this exactly
is a
what I
crime.
showed. Everything harms people. Only,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
In some way or the other.
No person can
That's
live
you
without
can't listen.
religion.
Look, there
Belief
are
is
defined
important in
crimes,
everyone's
and then
life.
there are people taking offenses for no reason.
Yeah, but Rose, whatever I pointed out, it is offending another
People
person.
take
That
offense
is the
for
reason why.
everything.
That is the reason why I'm
people
said
will always get
it should be
offended, yeah.
one-sided. And
See, in the context of religion, like there are like two kind of offenses. If I go about and murder somebody for practicing their religion because I think it is in opposition to my religious beliefs, then that is a different story. Versus me getting offended or somebody else getting offended because of me practicing my own religion in a peaceful way that does not interfere with their personal life is also a different issue. These two are very different issues, right? So in the second context, there needs to be a balanced approach, because if people get offended like this, there are going to be conflicts every day, and eventually it will lead to like violent conflicts.
Yeah, definitely.
see, Rose, I'll simply give you an example. In Islam right now, in India, they have an Islamic law as well. So now, after the Narendra Modi government is coming to power, he's trying to bring a uniform civil code. Before, there was a wait. Like, please don't interrupt. Wait. There was a 30-year-old case.
I don't usually interrupt, but it's regarding religion. That's why I'm saying, because we are of a very bad notion that UCC is something else. UCC practically has no change to the Islamic or Hindu legal ways of the world. Yeah, personal law. It is just a hoax that's created in the in the legal and legislative sphere. There's nothing major that's gonna change because of the UCC.
Okay, fine. Let me complete my thing. There was a 30-year-old case that I just got to know that a Muslim woman should be paid alimony for divorce. I mean, Rajiv Gandhi, he overturned the Supreme Court order saying that, okay, no alimony for the Muslim woman. But she went to court again, and when Narendra Modi's government came to power, he reversed it and he said Muslim women should be given alimony. So he went against the religion, and he said he brought in that the rule that applies to everyone in India, everyone else, according to that time, that that women should be given alimony. So I mean that is what I meant. According to personal space, if you say that if you bring separate laws for Muslims and Hindus, okay, that is, I mean, I'm practicing my religion, you practice yours. That's not right, because what if a Muslim child gets married? What will you do? Can you sit and watch? Can you simply sit and watch if a Muslim woman gets married? If you're not a Muslim, you practice another religion. Oh, it's not my problem. Would you do that, Rose?
Yeah.
Look, personal laws, India definitely, because it's a secular country, it lets people have their own personal religious laws. But at the same time, we also saw that child marriage is prohibited for all religions. At the same time, triple talaq, which was practiced in Islam, has been banned.
Exactly. So it's not a balance. Ideally, it shouldn't be a balance. It should be what is considered ideal. Right?
Wait, you can't completely also go and ban somebody. Balance. Wait, I think we have a sort of miscommunication. Balance in the sense that practice your religion in a sense that does not harm you or anybody else. Right?
That is agreed. That is agreed. That is not called as balance. That is one-sided thing, I would say.
But at the same time, in a democracy, you cannot curtail people's right to practice their religion in a way they want to, right? If they are not harming themselves or somebody else. That is what I meant by balance.
Okay, this is agreed. Okay, this is agreed. I agree to this.
To be clear,
Again,
child marriage is not an issue. Child marriage is not an issue in just Islam. It's an equal issue in Hinduism and to some extent Christianity as well.
I don't think, India, the entirety of India had a problem of child marriage. If we
It's
go
a
back
societal issue. It's not a religious issue.
Religious issue in the sense there is no minimum threshold to get married.
Yeah,
like
That's
I
what I
agree
meant.
on that. Like because I believe that I think Islam states that people who have hit puberty are eligible for marriage.
Yeah,
But
even
at the
11th
same
month
time,
old.
the Indian constitution has a age limit for marriage.
Not a limit, but threshold.
Threshold, minimum age limit. Like the devil is still in the details again. Like only again, I will get a little offensive, but here the only religion which has any problems with democratic and secularistic uniform civil code is only one religion. So, like I believe, so for some reason, the amalgamation of both other Abrahamic religions in the same page as Islam, and then saying all are incongruent, is something very, very disingenuous. I believe like Christian personal laws has absolutely nothing like which goes against the Indian constitution. Christianity has its own personal laws, but Islam has the serious contentions. And again, so I don't understand why most people don't understand this. But Sharia is an integral part of Islamic tradition. Sharia, Hadith, Quran. These three things are an integral part of Islamic tradition, and we all know what Sharia looks like. And there is like absolute evidence that Islam is completely not in congruence with democracy or secularism.
I feel sad for Islam
So
in
what
a
do
way
you think
that
is the solution to that?
Rose, one more question.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yes.
You know, in the South American culture, I don't know if whether it was South America or Mexico, there was human sacrifice. That was their religion. Would you
that
allow
was their
that?
religion. Yeah, that's a wonderful example.
See, if you go against them, then you're not secular.
Who came and
Wait.
banned that, by the way.
Yeah, wait. If you go against them, then you're not secular. If they go against you, then they are not secular. So who's secular here? So according to me,
wonderful point.
Nobody can be secular.
because
Look,
Indians
I think
are so
I summed
confused
that
in the idea
entire
of
thing up
secular.
with one word: balance. Balance in a way you're not harming yourself, you're not harming anyone else.
If you go and ban their religion, you're harming them. I mean, they feel offended.
You're not going to ban the religion. That is what I'm telling you. You're not going to ban the religion. You're going to ban the part of the religion that is harming someone.
Rose, like
when we talk of secular, When we
Rose,
talk of
like there is,
secular, there is no
yeah.
need to do anything. The Western definition of secularism is the separation of state and religion. Religion will not interfere with state, state will not interfere with religion. This confusion happens because Indians have a different
Secularism.
assumption of the word secularism.
Like Rose, the point is like I'm sure you're aware of the Supreme Court dictum of essential practice of religion. Like the state can interfere, Indian state can interfere in the religious practices as long as it is not an essential practice of that religion. I'm sure you're aware of that. So like as Ashwin rightly pointed out that in Aztecs, it was the Aztecs, Ashwin, it was in Mexico as well as in the South America. They had this integral tradition of bursting out the heart of the human sacrificed individual as a part of appeasing their God. And then the Christians came, and basically Christians tried to stop them, and they didn't, and that's what basically led to the war, the Spain's Inquisition there, and they was ruthless, and that's how basically Christianity spread in Mexico and South America. You can't be tolerant to something which is fundamentally intolerant. That's the problem. There are certain ideas which are fundamentally not.
Let's say something of the sort was happening in India, right?
Yeah,
Because
Islam,
India is a
Sati
country.
system. Sati system.
Sati system.
Okay.
Yeah, again. Yes,
Sati system.
Yeah.
That was a religious practice. Do we agree on that? It was a part of a religion, of a said
Definitely.
religion. The reason it was banned was because it was forcing women to give up their lives when they didn't even want to. We were taking a life, right? We were taking a life by means of compulsion, and sometimes women gave up their lives because they thought that was the right thing to do. But now the Indian constitution states right to life, right?
Rose, like there is again, I'm not getting a contrarian, but still, like, what do you think about?
Ashwin, why would you not ban the religion, right? One second. Why religion? So Sati was a part of a said religion. We banned Sati, not the religion. That's what I'm trying.
But Sati was not, it was easier to do because Sati was not an essential practice of that religion. But that's not how polygamy is for Islam. Polygamy is an integral part of Islamic tradition. Child marriages is an integral part of Islamic traditions. So
it's about how much weight they give to those things. It's about how much weight they give to those things.
Like they give
one more thing.
weight. It's in Quran.
Rose,
so
wait. One minute.
Yeah.
Rose, it was the British who banned that Sati system because they had power over it. It was not the Indian government who banned it. It was the British who banned it because they had power.
Yeah.
If the power lied within our hands, maybe we wouldn't have banned it. Or maybe until maybe 50 or 60 years or so, we wouldn't have banned it.
Wait.
You know,
where does the power lie right now?
The power lies only partly with us and partly with the members of the parliament.
No, we have given our part to the
ban
constitution.
certain practices in recent times.
Sorry?
Did we not ban certain practices that had to do with certain religions in recent times?
Hijab.
Yeah,
No,
with
not
all. No, hijab is not banned, please.
At least they are talking about it.
I mean, there was this brief
polygamy in Islam.
incident in. Look, as far as I know in Islam, right? Polygamy is not like it's not a pillar of Islam, okay? And it's not even mandatory that you practice polygamy. It is not even encouraged. It is simply allowed.
Okay. So let's say if women
let's
also
say we ban polygamy, right? Let's say we ban polygamy. Assume we ban polygamy, right? It still does not ban an integral part of Islam.
Okay. But for Islam,
And
the
I
problem
feel
is that
bad for
everything which is
Islam.
written in Quran is the word of God. It's infallible. No other constitution, no other ideas can
That's
take
the
apart.
main issue that the
I
poor
agree
religion is
100%
facing.
on the point that Quran is the word of God as per Muslims, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if polygamy as a practice was so integral, every Muslim man would have 4 wives. And if he is not having 4 wives, isn't he against the word of God?
Yeah, definitely.
So what does it mean? It's really
It's
not that
because,
integral.
then there is the point of like doing something because of having the options and doing something because of not having the options. Most of the Muslims in India don't have the right or the capability to do that in this modern Indian democratic structure.
Right.
How
I
will
would
you
argue.
decipher between the two?
No,
Rose, what
right.
is
I would
integral part and
argue
what is
because
not
right
integral
now
part
I
according
don't
to you?
think there is a law stopping polygamy. Right now, I don't think there is a law. Personally, I'm not aware of a law that is banning polygamy. Right?
I'm not sure. Like, Prince, can you help me on this? Do you think there is a law about like banning polygamy? I
No,
believe there is.
currently
I believe
there
there
is
is.
not.
I don't think so.
There is no law that curtails a ban on polygamy. You can do it. There are some exceptions,
There is
and
no ban, but the rule has in place that you cannot marry more than one person. It's a
Yeah,
general rule. It is
in
not.
Hindu society,
No, I don't
Is
think.
it
I'm not
Is
sure,
it
but
legal?
again the point of personal laws?
no.
exactly.
If I mean, you can. I don't think there is a. I'm not sure if there is a religious law, but there is a unified law that one person cannot marry more than one.
Okay.
Yeah,
A
there
good
is a law. Yeah.
I don't know how good of an example this is, but I think certain regions in India still have the
Yes, they
tradition of
do,
having
but
groom bride, right?
technically they cannot get registered as it's a legal, marriage. They can only do
So,
one person as a legal partner.
no.
If whatever
There
you
are
do
certain
over that, it technically falls into an illegal according to IPL,
no. There are certain cultures in
IPC.
Uttarakhand where polygamy and polyandry both are allowed, and you can directly register it, and the government has virtually no control over it
So
because it's
I believe it's a
rightly said
special
integral
provisions
part of
provided
the
for some
culture.
tribes.
Yeah.
It's only a
Yeah,
special provision.
maybe,
No, in Nepal, I
maybe.
think
But
Nepal
as far
it's
as my world is concerned, I don't think that was the case. Maybe it could have been.
I think the
Yeah.
question has come to a point where if a certain religious practice is bad, are we going to ban that practice, or are we going to
See,
ban the
you cannot
religion?
decide what is bad. Okay, if someone wants to marry 100 women, how is this a
No,
different
no.
difference
Of
between a
course.
person? See, in the modern world, there are a lot of people who have relationships with more than one person, right? So how
That's
is
true.
it different from a religion compared to, like, okay, Islam, they marry 10 women. How is it different from any other free of choices that they have as in a 21st century people have? So
That's such a
if
good
they are
point.
not harming the person, if
Yeah,
the
who is it
100 women
harming?
are, yeah,
Who is it harming?
they're
If
not
it's not
harming
harming the
anybody.
woman, if it's not harming the man,
It
where
doesn't
is the
matter.
problem?
One woman can marry 100 men. That goes the same way. I'm not saying that it's not. It's only the one way.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But
That's the
when
point,
it
right?
comes to religious, when it comes to particular Islamic religion, it's only one way, right? So
Yes,
it's
it's
up to the religion. I mean, you can
no,
say
I
that
think
okay,
it's
the
up
women
to
are
the
not
individual
educated, and
more
It's
than the
not up to the
religion.
religion, okay?
It's more to
First
the
of all,
individual.
yes, I
If
there
mean,
are
he is
negatives in every
practicing
it's
that
not
religion.
up to
religion,
the
is he going
religion.
to
The
take
people
that
who believe
liberty?
in that religion. That's what
Yeah,
I'm trying to say.
right. So somebody
Okay, there's
associated with
nothing.
that religion, is he going to take that liberty or not? I don't think we get to have a say, at least right now, legally.
You don't get to have
Legally
a
we can't.
say
Yeah.
about anything that doesn't harm any person. As you stated earlier,
Exactly.
the
That is
the
the
rest.
point I'm trying
See,
I
to
don't know
make.
if
who
the
was
100
pointing
women,
out that. Yeah.
100 women, if 100 women are like, let's say, they don't know what is the constitution, they are like, they don't understand what their rights are, and there comes to a moral ground where do we educate them? Okay, and does it mean that after getting, is it a moral conscience on us? The constitution doesn't state that you have to educate anybody, right? It's up to them, and
Right.
it doesn't
No,
prescribe that.
no.
Okay, so, no, of
Kind
course
of.
not.
Constitution says that
Kind of does.
students
Yeah,
have
it
to go to
kind of.
school. They are forced to go to
No,
school
that is
at
the
least.
primary education that's
You are
Yeah,
compulsory.
allowed.
whatever,
You are.
Beyond that,
whatever.
no.
I
Yeah.
can keep my son at home. He doesn't want to go to school. You cannot force me to make him to go to school.
Well, 6 to 14, yeah, there is this fundamental duty is there in the constitution. And
No, there is not. Homeschooling is allowed in India.
Like, but
Whatever, some form of schooling they have to get, right?
yeah, some form of, yeah.
It's not about school,
It's
it's
not
about
compelled again.
education.
Yeah,
Beware
something
of
it's
that
not
again,
compelled, but
guys.
it's like encouraged. It's kind of more of an
I lived in
encouragement.
Italy,
Yeah,
and in
it's
Italy, education was obligatory until the age of 13 or something. It was obligatory
Okay.
in Europe.
Okay.
in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about India.
Okay, bro. Like
Okay.
there is this fundamental. It's one of like Right to Education Act. I believe there is a
No,
provision
right
for
is different. Right is different. Obligation is
it's
different.
like it basically compels every parent to like educate their ward.
No,
it
I'm
compels
not
the
sure.
parents.
I cannot give you a
Consequences.
solid one, but I am very aware of that homeschooling is allowed in India.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
sure the
allowed. It's
laws
allowed. But I believe there is some
around it.
registration for that or something of that
Please,
sort.
Homeschooling is also a form of schooling,
the
man.
law,
That's what I'm saying.
the,
Yeah.
You know, what I'm
the
trying to
law
say is
is
I can
that
say homeschooling, but I don't have to school him. That's what there is a gray area, right?
Yeah, definitely.
the law
There
is
is always,
that
yeah.
the government has to provide free education for children age, I guess it's 6 to 14 or 8 to 14. I'm not sure.
6 to 14, 6 to 14, yeah, 6 to 14. Yeah, so
Yeah,
like,
and it did not even come into place to, like make it an obligation or anything. It just came into play in 2002 because most people in India weren't sending their kids to school because they did not
yeah.
have the means.
Hello,
Rose, we cannot hear you, Rose.
Rose, you just cut off. Yeah,
How about now?
yeah, audible.
Yeah, so it was like to solve the problem of poor parents who could not afford to send their kids to school. So primary education was made free and compulsory in that context.
So
And still people don't opt for it. Certain people still don't opt for it. And as far as I know, I don't think there are any consequences. I mean, even if there are, nobody cares to report these kind of people.
Yeah.
So, Rose, what was your point ultimately? If
Yeah, we all
I really
got
have no
something-
idea
debated a
where
lot.
this
Yeah, we
debate
all
is
got
going,
debated.
first of all.
We have
no,
no
wait,
idea where this is going. Yeah.
Rose, your point was if something is not harming
Rose
anybody,
is on the fighting right today.
Yeah, right. If it's not harming you and if it's not directly harming anybody else, what is the problem? That is
That's
what I
a big,
meant by
big objection to that, Rose. Like, everything harms. We can always make a case for that. Everything that we do
I
can harm
gave you
one
two
person or the
cases.
other.
There are two kinds of ways in which you can harm/offend somebody.
Okay.
One is
Like,
reasonable, the other is not.
Okay, like again, that's very generalized way of looking at it. I will give you a wonderful example. Let's carry on with that polygamy example, where one man decides to marry more than, let's say, 100 women. 100
Okay.
women he marries, and all the women are okay with it. All the men are okay with it. Like only the man here, he's okay with
There
it.
is a
And we are basically, basically saying, okay, he's right. Like what ultimately will result from such a social institution where polygamy?
99 people won't have wives then.
Yeah, exactly. And will they be
No,
harmed?
you're
with
you're
regard-
assuming the sex ratio is
Yeah,
balanced.
Yeah, it is. It is throughout the world. Almost it is the
let
same.
me tell you. Let me say. Okay, assuming that sex ratio is balanced. Okay, fine, 50-50, and 99 men will not get women. So who
Yeah.
are you to say that? The 100 women wants that guy only.
Okay, again, good point. Let me continue. And again, here I'm taking from the various studies which have been promoted, which has been published during the early 2000s, how monogamous marital structure has the best parenting institutions for the children. And when more than one partners are involved, parenting as a result
It is a study.
degenerate.
It is a study.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Again,
You
the
cannot
study-
say that what will happen in the future. Okay, if these 101 people
Again,
are
we can
so
only speak on reasons. We can only speak on rational basis. We can only speak on predictions. Like it will harm people in the
yeah,
future.
I understand. What I'm trying to say is your freedom of
Yes.
choice triumphs the government's willing the force that they're trying to put on you.
Now, I just
Yeah,
have one question, like a very common sense question. Forget
Yeah.
society, forget anything, okay? You said if one man marries 99 women, okay?
Yeah.
This
Lucky
was your
man.
assumption, okay?
100.
So my
Yeah.
assumption is, if the man and the women in question have no problem, why do you have a problem?
Just like, do you have problem with pedophilia?
Pedophilia is a different case.
Okay, do you have problem with incest then?
Question is a kid who does not have the proper mind to function.
Okay.
We
Again,
cannot
Rose.
take
Okay,
that and
we are
compare
getting
Rose,
it
very.
to
I mean,
other
Rose,
people.
even I can say that humans do not have a proper mind to function as well.
Yeah,
Most humans,
we only,
I can say
we
that.
only develop
Have
our
a
brain
common
only by the age
consensus
of
where a
25. There
person
is no
is
reason to believe you are legal in one day and not legal the other day. There is no reason to believe. It's just an arbitrary line. There is no reason to believe you just become mature after your 18th birthday. There is no reason
Nobody
to
said
believe.
18. Nobody said 18.
Yeah, like again, what is pedophilia then?
See,
Underage.
this can be avoided. The one man marrying 100 women. Now there are so many men
Yeah.
who can voice out and change the law.
Yeah.
It will
Yeah,
balance out.
definitely. Yeah,
As
definitely.
per game theory, it will balance out. So that's how
If
democracy
we were
works.
talking about the free will argument, where if two people are consenting, people are doing something, why not allow them doing that? Just like we don't allow incest. Why don't we allow incest?
Because there is
You don't allow incest. It
scientific.
doesn't mean it's illegal.
Incest is
No,
allowed.
we have a
Legally, we don't
scientific
allow
evidence.
It is
incest.
not
Legally, we
illegal.
don't allow
Incest is
incest.
not illegal. The first point, incest is
Incest
not
is
illegal.
illegal. Hindu
Second
personal
thing,
laws.
there is no moral
You can't
argument to
marry.
it. No,
You can't
don't say that.
marry. Incest
That's
is
your
illegal.
that's your
It's
belief.
not my
It's not a moral
position. It's
argument.
not my
Into argument
position.
is never
If
the
Sandeep,
solution. Children
Rose, just
becomes
a
a
minute.
completely different case.
Like,
No,
Rose,
incest
just a
has
minute.
its own set of drawbacks. Okay, we have scientific evidence that the child that is born will have more genetic defect, right? And
Yeah,
we
What?
can always agree to keep that as a law, right? And we can, if you want to die, yeah, the majority can agree, yes, we will keep it and let them die. That's democracy. They are free to do what they want.
Again, that's the
Okay, I
problem.
don't think any
You
religion or
believe
society
something as simple
allows
as moral
direct
philosophy.
incest. The closest is first cousin marriage. So it's not just in Islam, it's in Hindu society as well. I was shocked when I knew that in Maharashtra, first cousin marriage is practiced heavily.
That's
Yeah, but
true.
it's illegal.
That's true. Being
Hindu,
from
Hindu
somewhere.
personal
Again,
law
man,
prohibits that.
Historically,
it goes down to
incest
the
was
point where
classed as,
the third person has no right.
yeah,
The
see,
studies might say
historically,
anything,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
The
exactly. The
studies
third
could
person
say
has no
anything.
right at all.
See, historically, what has incest has happened more with the royal families because they don't want to dilute their
Let the
next
royal
year, right?
families breed among themselves. Let them
Yeah,
have a genetic thing, but it's up to
yes,
them.
yes, exactly, right. What is
Okay,
the problem?
Yeah. So what
again,
was
I
the
will continue
point
on that argument.
anyways?
Just Rose, let me just continue this. Okay, you all agree that the genetic defects which will result from incest and inbreeding, right?
Yes, we have evidence.
So when
Yes,
that happens,
Yeah, yeah,
whose health machinery will they fall upon? It will be the
Sorry?
society. Whose health machinery will they fall
Dude,
upon?
in that context, every Indian should marry an American if you want genetic diversity.
Yeah, that's preferable. At least you do the bare minimum of not marrying someone very close to you.
There is no bare minimum when it comes to science, okay?
Yeah, there is bare minimum. There is bare
There
minimum.
is no
It's more
bare
than,
minimum. No, there
it's
is
more
not.
than
Oh
proven.
my
It's
You
more than
cannot
goodness.
predict.
scientifically proven.
You cannot
In that
predict how
case,
evolution goes.
okay,
It's not
in
no,
that
it's more,
case, in the
Sandeep,
name of
mean that you
intolerance, should
can't,
we
you
also
like,
ban homosexuality? Because even that should be the bare minimum,
sorry?
biologically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So
Biologically
Can you
speaking.
what
repeat?
are we gonna ban homosexuality now? Because if you're supposed to do the bare minimum biologically, it doesn't make sense. Homosexuality
No,
doesn't
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sense.
it's not about
Homosexuality is.
procreating. It's not about procreating. We have ample scientific evidence. If you marry your first generation related people in your family, you are more than likely to have people who have genetic disadvantage or genetically challenged offsprings. That's a scientific fact. And if you
Yes,
don't
You
it's
believe
a
know,
that,
fact, but you can't say like two completely opposing
and
statements in the
I'll give you a
sentence.
surprise that is how evolution works.
eh?
Do you
How?
think the evolution has chosen different genetics? No, it did not.
Yeah, we are programmed to choose as genetically diverse people as we can. That's how genetics works. That's
If
how
you
sexual
if you
reproduction works.
if you have a knowledge of
I just have one thing to tell you. You
Yeah.
told two things in the same statement that make absolutely no sense.
Okay.
First, starting off, you said it is not about procreating. Then you went and said, what about the kids who are
Yeah.
going to have defect? Are you worried or are you
See,
not worried?
I pointed out because you
see,
brought
if
homosexuality into
let's
the picture.
take there is an incest, okay, and they are not ready to have offsprings. Still, that is not a problem,
I mean, you have to start at 3
You're
p.m.
asking, you're asking
right?
me?
No, yeah, how it's a problem, right? See, if
How
there
is
is an
that okay?
incest, but there is
See.
no offspring of them,
Okay.
then that is not a problem because there is no kid going to be born with defects. That is
Yeah,
the
legally
problem.
that's
That's
no
why we
problem.
won't want incest, right?
guys, it's a classical right versus duty debate where we have the right of free will and the duty to procreate.
Procreation is not a duty. That's a
Yeah, that's
another
It is a
problem.
Like moral
biological
duty, kind
duty.
of
Yeah.
given the
moral duty.
population, please don't even try to procreate.
Well,
See,
kind of
now
like,
there is a big problem in Chinese. Their population is aging. Aging population is
yeah.
increasing, and they are reducing the procreation because they have induced a law. Because they are
Man, we
not
had
able
a
to
very big
sustain,
debate
right?
about
It's not a
population, right?
it's not a duty, right?
It's like it's a good thing to do since our fertility rates are falling globally. I'm not saying India, globally.
But then you
Like
can't
it's a good
decide for
thing to
us.
suggest to Japanese people. It's a good thing to suggest to Europeans
You can put the
to have as
statistics
many
out and
children as
let the
possible.
people decide, right? You cannot enforce the
Yeah,
very
that's
fact
what
that
You can't
China said
speak for someone
one kid
else.
tomorrow
policy.
people, if again, Sandeep, your cultural nihilism is very
Make it as a
dangerous if you
bit.
really put it in practice. Cultural nihilism only leads to destruction because that's the problem. Like you are arguing for the sake of arguing, I understand, but the
I'm
point
not
is
arguing
when
for the
it's
sake of
actually
argument.
practiced, when it's
I'm
actually
not arguing for
practiced
the
without
sake of
any
argument, dude.
Guys,
when it's
I
actually
guess we have
practiced.
deviated a lot from the debate, and at this point, we should, kind of leave something for the Wednesday's debate. I guess this is a perfect note to end it on.
It was nice talking to you all, by the way.
Rose, I mean, whatever you spoke about this thing, right? Having multiple wives or whatever.
Yeah.
We have applied socialism on a different dimension.
Yeah, exactly.
We have applied socialism on a different dimension because, okay, if a man wants to marry as many women as he wants, the rich people will have many wives then the poor won't have any wives. So that is why they came up with
Sexual
this
inequality,
they came up with this whatever so-called norm way back thousands of years ago that let one man have one woman. That was in the religion, basically.
Again, that was a Christian Christian ideology, by the way. Just
In
so that you know.
in that case, I oppose it.
Okay, here's the thing. The assumption of a man / a woman marrying unlimited spouses was not raised by me. I just, tried to show what my thought was on that. And as far as like Abrahamic religion, it's like we were talking about Islam specifically. I think there is a limit. Okay, it goes only one way, as in the man can have multiple spouses, but there is a limit.
Yeah.
It's 4. He can't go around marrying 200 women.
No, there is a limit of 4. Then he can have multiple like concubines. There is a law of wives only, 4 wives, but there is multiple concubines. That's per
6 slaves. He can have more 6 slaves.
Yeah, that's the right word. I was
Present day, there is no concept of slavery in India, guys. Let's not even.
No. I'm talking about Islam. What Prophet Muhammad said. I mean.
Yeah, I cannot deny that. And I'm
knows.
not sure. I'm not even sure. Like, I do not want to speak on things I don't know about. But if there was such thing that if he said or that's something the religion encourages. But in India, in the present day context, I don't think slavery exists. And even if a man wants to, I don't think he can.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, right. But yeah, again, that's why I was only focusing on ideologies. People were focusing on what people did in the name of ideologies. I was only talking about ideologies, and in Islamic ideologies fundamentally.
We should only talk about what people are doing and what we should be doing instead of what has been done or ideology.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, can't put it any more better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what comes next?
So okay, bye all.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
What is the concluding statement? Let's conclude and let's.
Let Rose conclude. Let Rose conclude. Yeah.
I'm still on the same
conclude on
page
what
as
the
long as it's
topic
not
was.
harming you or anyone else.
Yeah.
Let them. And if something's harming you from a particular religion, ban the practice, not the religion.
Yeah.
But banning the practice itself hurts the religion.
See, the conclusion is
if you want to live in a society,
no,
then you
for
have to
me,
give something up.
conclusion is religion is religion, democracy democracy.
Yeah,
Both are not. Yes, keep it
political
where
decisions
they are.
and religious ideas completely different. Yeah. But how can
so
you
if they are
differentiate?
like
People are
incompatible,
involved.
let
How
them
can
be
you differentiate?
incompatible.
Like there is this argument, Lokesh. Then can you really keep religion out of politics? Really, on a practical basis, no. Because these people are religious and people are
You
political
cannot
power
keep
holders.
anything out of politics.
Yeah,
On a
exactly. You
practical
can't keep anything
reason,
out of
politics
We are talking about the ideal thing.
everything.
We are talking about the ideal thing.
Yeah, ideas. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, ideal. Yeah.
Because politics
democracy can be applied to anything, right?
Everything can be,
but
political.
there is no
Democracy,
compatibility. Well, there is no discussion for compatibility.
Hey, Lokesh, I just want to when you say there is no compatibility, let's say majority of the world population agree that there needs to be Allah, or let's say there is like God, there is one God, and everyone just democratically consensus comes to this agreement that there is a God and we should all worship him and all other worship is just prohibited. Will you be
It
okay
will always
with
be a
that?
myth.
Like Pakistan.
You can always hope for it, and it will not happen.
Pakistan.
No,
like Pakistan,
there is a few group of people who are not agreeing to that, right? They should be able to voice out and do their own stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
right?
Exactly.
And they
That
should
is what
not be
democracy
punished.
means.
Democracy is not
Ah,
just about majority,
that
it's
is
also about the
democracy. That
minority
is
as well.
democracy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Minority should be
conclusion
able to
is
voice
The
out.
majority agrees on that does not mean the minority is going to be annihilated or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
That should
yeah,
be fine.
definitely, exactly. Yeah. Minority
So
rights is just minority right is an essential part of democracy. Yeah, that's the point.
And it's such
More
an
than
immature statement to think that the whole world will subscribe to one idea. If you have three people, you will have four opinions.
yeah. Yeah. It was just a hypothetical statement. I was just pointing out if everyone democratically just came to the consensus that let's all believe in one God, and then there is Prince who says, no, I will not believe in this God. So what will happen in that case? Like, will Prince be allowed to preach and practice his religion, or will Prince has to be like essentially convert or get
If
killed?
it's a
Or
Convert and
democracy,
save my
Prince will
life.
be allowed to do whatever the hell he wants as long as he's
yeah,
not trying to harm anyone.
in an ideal democracy. Yeah, in an ideal
Yeah.
democracy.
okay,
Yeah, I
guys,
think
I have one question. I have
yeah.
one question. Let's say majority of the people in a country are uneducated. They don't even know how to read or write and stuff like that. 80%. 20% have some college degree. Now, do you apply democracy and do you give equal chance for everybody to vote, or do you give more weightage for those 20% because they have studied and they know stuff?
That is
What do
what
you do?
somebody explained about American Constitution, right? You put all these
If you
20%
studied,
people in the power, and they are supposed to hope that they give those equal rights to the 80% of the population.
if you have a degree,
No, I
does
think
that
they should
mean you're
still be given
educated?
like a equal chance to vote because they're still the citizens. And
And
at the
this
end of the day,
college
it's not about
education,
majority or minority, but equal opportunity.
It's not
and
about
this college
See,
education,
No,
everyone
I'm
should
talking
be
about
given.
education. It's not about minority or majority. I'm talking about the level of education they have. What if
No,
some
but then
people
if
are living in the
the
Stone Age?
majority of the population is uneducated, they still should have a right to vote. You know, they need to have a say because, like it or not, they're still going to live there and
No,
they're still going
this
to face the
20%.
consequences of whatever
Okay,
happens.
Rose, I have one
what
question for
has
you. Wait. Then what about people who are below 18 years old? They don't have a say in India.
Okay. Here's the
People
thing.
below 18,
That
the
is
age of
based on
18.
the assumption that they are minor in age and they might not have the mental maturity to understand and decide.
The
No,
same
I
goes for
think
people who don't have
see,
who haven't gone to
no,
school as well. Same
no,
argument goes for that as well.
No, let's take all the 80% are dumb people and 20% is well educated. This 20% should
one
take
second,
the effort to educate the other 80%, right? And
okay, one
give
second.
them also equal rights, because that way they are forced to do certain thing, so that it's the equality is also there. At the same time, they are forced to do the good thing also, right? By educating the 80%.
That takes time, man.
Just
Educating
see
takes time, but I'm talking about the immediate
The
Okay,
future.
world,
here's
the
the
current
situation.
world.
false
One day, it takes
equivalence.
time.
If we were to reverse the situation and not give a chance to the 80% to vote, are you sure the 20% won't exploit them because they're already uneducated?
Okay, then
And
the
I
same
see a
argument goes
false
for minors in India
equivalence.
as well.
See,
Same
everyone
argument
should
goes for
be.
minors as well.
Is nobody able to see the false equivalence here that we are equating a
Yeah,
college degree to education? I've
yeah,
seen several electrical engineers who are not even able to change a bloody light
yeah.
bulb.
Well, the presumption is that 20% are qualified and in the
Yeah,
right
I
mind
just
to
came
do
up with
what they
something
are
different.
Qualification does
supposed to do.
not
But the
mean
point is,
knowledge.
see,
No,
Ashwin,
of course,
actually, like
qualification does not mean that, but the
Okay,
assumption
I
is
have
they
done
are qualified
qualified,
to do what they are
qualified,
supposed to do.
okay.
definitely.
I've
But
done my graduation from
this is
Paul
the kind of
Science.
paradox
There
which we
are
come across. This is the kind of paradoxes we come across. If you only base people on certain rational ideas, and if you don't inherently value individual's humanity, you can make up all sorts of argument
Dude,
to
the
diminish
world,
someone's right.
I'll
That's
Man,
give you the
it is
only
truth.
happening.
subjective.
I'll
What
give
is
you the,
That's what
humanity? It is
let
Nazis
me,
did.
subjective.
give
This
me 30
same level,
seconds, please.
this same level of argumentation was used by the Nazis against the Jews.
No,
This
it's
was the
not about
same level
Nazi
of argument.
argument. I'll give you the facts. The world is run by almost 15 to 20% of the people who are very intellectual. If they perish, if let's say tomorrow this 15% of people vanish from the earth, you and I will be extinct in 30 to 40 days.
okay.
You know that?
I'm not going to.
Again, big
I'm not
conspiracy,
going
but
to point fingers
okay.
to
I
something.
understand.
It's
I
not a
agree. I
conspiracy.
agree. Yeah.
The
Guys,
scientists, the
again,
brilliant
again,
minds,
you're
the
going off
engineers
track.
who
This was not even the topic, guys. This was not even the topic.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
anyway,
Thanks, Rose.
finally, before we conclude, Rose, I wanted to say The same goes for minors in India as well. I mean, the
Mhm.
minors also, they have a mind, but we think that they are not mentally mature enough to vote. The same argument can go for other people as well. Some people who don't even know anything other than who don't know absolutely anything other than farming or stuff like that.
Well, the hope
Right?
is people will educate themselves down the line.
Yeah.
Again,
Why?
You cannot
it's
have
a matter of
the human
Because
brain does not
I
fully grow
don't
until
think
you're
it's
25 years
it's
old.
What
really
this
a very
20% is
unfair
doing? They should be ready to
comparison.
educate.
It's
See, 20,
really an
just
unfair comparison.
just
I
to
don't
add
human
think
on
brain
a
minors
is
are
graduation
being
from political
exploited.
science.
Okay, some
Guys, I have
children,
done.
let's say the age of 14, have better minds than a 50-year-old, let's say, who doesn't know anything. Agree or disagree?
no,
Does
I
that go
disagree.
for the masses though? Because voting is not just like one-on-one, right? It
No, I
There
matters.
just gave
should
an
be
example.
some.
The masses matter. If
It's
the
just an
masses,
arbitrary number, guys. Let's not debate over it.
Yeah, we are debating too unnecessarily.
We
yeah.
had to come up with a
No,
certain
actually,
number,
let
so
us
we
just
came up with
conclude.
it.
Let us just conclude.
Rose, please go ahead and conclude. We are all very charged up here. You can like have a balanced conclusion here.
All right.
Yeah.
So for me, my concluding statement was balance, and somebody rightly said that these two things should not be mixed up. So yes, apples and oranges, keep them different, eat them differently. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Have balance. Yeah. That's. I also subscribe to that idea, even though I believe Christianity is better, but still okay.
Okay. Everyone
And
believes that.
I
I'm
am
just joking,
absolutely
bro. Like I'm
fine
no
with your
Christian, bro.
belief.
I was just
I
making some
believe I am the
arguments. I'm no
best.
Christian. Yeah.
Everybody else is below me. I believe that.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
absolutely fine with it. I will not kill you.
Everybody is the
Yeah.
main character of their own lives, guys. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Exactly. It was nice speaking to you all. Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Nice debate.
Hope to
Thank you.
see you all
Bye.
on Wednesday.
Bye, guys.
Bye.